they know they're in a football match and make some tackles and challenges and make sure that we, when we have the ball, we're good with the ball also, and that they have to chase around. But yeah, it's a game we're looking forward to. It's a good challenge for us, I think. I don't look at it and think, oh, Swansea have only won 1 or 2 in 10.
Testing.
Because they've drawn most of them games.
Testing.
They're a decent football team. In fact, they're better than decent. They're a very good team, and the results sometimes don't reflect how good your team is. So we are wary of them, but a game that we shall attack and be positive and try and get a good result. I think when you play against Swansea, and the preparation building up to Swansea is almost unique in this league, because they are a possession-based team.
Testicles. Welcome to the live stream.
Want to pass to each other through the lines, and they build it from the goal kicks, and they're a difficult team to prepare for. You know what's coming, of course, but it's sometimes not as easy to stop it as you might think, because they've got good technical players who fill the spaces on the pitch. They are a very positional team. They play their positions. They know where they're trying to go with the ball, and when they get it right, it looks amazing. They're a top team, and yet they don't always find a way to win. They don't always put it in the opposition net enough. So we have to make it as difficult for them as we can. We know there'll be times in the game where we'll have to suffer that they've got the ball and it's difficult to get it off them. But as long as we're aware of that, and when now moments come we can take them, then we'll look forward to the challenge of it.
They've announced Love Island is coming back.
Matt Bailey at breakfast.
Do you watch Love Island?
No, I haven't, because I find that I'll probably get addicted to it, so I've tried to avoid it.
Waking up the northeast like this.
Sometimes I watch it with my wife, and I pretend she loves it, and really I watch it a bit myself. I'm only mentioning this because I've just seen all the pictures of the contestants going in. They are not what you want to see at this time of year. They're all like sort of tanned, toned, beautiful. Basically, if you want to imagine what a Love Island contestant looks like, Steph, all you need to do is look directly at me. Pasty, flabby, mildly ugly, look like I've sort of hit a few ugly branches on the way down. You reverse that, the exact opposite, that's a Love Island contestant.
Right.
I think for the winter one, they shouldn't have Love Island, they should have Love Handles.
The sound of the northeast at breakfast. BBC Radio Newcastle, making a difference in the northeast. Nick Barnes and Gary Bennett MBE.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
So, Tony Mowbray talking about Swansea City there. They make no changes from the team that lost to Burnley 2-1 the other week. They made just the one change then for their cup tie against Bristol City. They brought in Dean Gordon's son, Nathan Wood, for Harry Darling, but Harry Darling is back in this afternoon for Swansea. Bender in goal, Latibaudiere, Cabango, you've been Cabangoed, Darling and Manning, and then Allen, Grimes, Fulton, Pirot, Cooper and Cullen. Sunderland then the two changes, Gooch and Evans come into the side this afternoon. Ballard and O'Nien are the two playing in the heart of defence, a 4 at the back. Swansea continuing with 4 at the back as they have for the past couple of weeks. Rob Mason, Sunderland, the club historian, has joined us here at the top of the steps. Good afternoon, Rob.
Good afternoon.
You've been busy already, because I know you've been at the Beacon of Light and you've been involved in a new project on a match day.
Yeah, indeed, part of the Calls for Goals project, a new project called Matchday Memories began today. It runs from 12:30 till 1:30 on a game that, if there's a Saturday game, it kicks off at 3 o'clock. If you turn up at the Beacon, it's free of charge. It's in classroom 4, but you go along there and there's a few people who turn up just to discuss exactly what it says on the tin, talk about their matchday memories. Sometimes they'll have guests coming along, myself, I think you're going along, sometimes some former players, just people to chat to about the memories. And I was there this morning talking to people whose, in some cases, their first games went back to the middle of the 1950s. So these were people who really can talk about.
So that would be relevant to Benno then.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. No, the people who can talk about seeing the likes of Len Shackleton and Billy Elliott playing, and then through the generations, the Jim Baxters, the Charlie Hurleys, indeed the Gary Bennetts, the Jim Montgomerys, the Kevin Phillips, right the way through the eras. Don't get me wrong, not all of the people that were there were people from the era that watched Shaq. There was some younger people there as well, But yeah, it's yet another good group running at the Beacon of Light, and it's always a joy to be in the Beacon, Nick, because apart from the event I was going to, there's numerous other events going on at the same time, and there's the cartoons playing. There's some families there with the kids on bean bags with the hot chocolates, just enjoying the game, enjoying the the pre-match build-up. Doing family-orientated things before they actually come to the match in a nice, safe, warm, comfy environment. What's not to like?
I just got a look from Benno then, which was like John Anderson when he was asked to do the Dan Burn dance the other day.
Because Manchester United are winning 2-1.
Well, it's
turned around. Manchester City were 1-up, and now they're 2-1 down.
Yeah, well, it was 1-0 to Man City when I left the press room a few minutes ago, so that's a bit of a turnaround.
Indeed. So that's a worthwhile project, as you say. I'll be going on one Friday morning to talk about my matchbooks and
good evening,
and so
chaps and chappesses. Welcome to the stream. Sunderland versus Swansea City.
You're involved in a project.
I'll be with you
which
in
is
a
a very
soon.
worthwhile
I'm just doing some
project. I mean, to outline this, I think you'll probably remember better than I. But we had a caller to Total Sport one night who spoke about some Sunderland fans that were tragically killed. I think on the way back from
it was 2 years. It was 2 years ago this month. And I was listening to Total Sport one night, and there was a caller called Robert Kennedy, who I've subsequently spoken to several times myself, very knowledgeable supporter. He rang in to talk about the fact that in January 1961, I think it was, 4 young Sunderland supporters had very tragically been killed in a road accident on their way back from a cup tie at Liverpool. If I remember the story rightly, what had happened was their coach had broke down. They were outside of the coach when something ploughed into them, and these 4 young lads were killed. So that started off me thinking, how could we commemorate not just those supporters but other supporters who similarly have lost their lives on their way to watching Sunderland, or coming back from watching Sunderland, or indeed at the match itself. And so for a long time I've been trying to get this project off the ground. It's been a bit difficult in terms of finance and so on, but with to the great credit of the Heaven branch of the Sunderland Supporters Club, which is a very, very active branch that I think you might have
just reiterate, that's Heaven and not
Heaven.
A lot of people
Heaven.
think we are saying Heaven.
I tried to say it as clearly as
Heaven,
not Heaven. There is a Heaven branch.
It's upstairs rather than downstairs.
Yeah, there is a Heaven branch who are tremendous, but this is the Heaven branch. And also at this point, I should say, despite the use of the word Heaven, it's not just for one religion. It's meant to be an all-encompassing thing of people of all religions. But with the help of the Heaven branch, who've raised some sponsorship, we've now got a plaque that is made that we're going to put up on the morning of the game against Reading next month, which will be after the anniversary of those 4 poor lads who died on the way back from Liverpool in the early 60s. And the plan is really that the wording that I've done for the plaque is a generic wording. We haven't named all the people who've passed away for 3 reasons. One is the plaque would be too big. 2 is, no matter how much effort we put into finding out all of the names, we're very fearful that we'd put the plaque up and then the week after the plaque was up, somebody would ring up and say, you haven't put my dad on who was killed, that we just didn't know about. And thirdly, very sadly, in years to come, there will no doubt be other people to add to the list. So we've got some generic wording that recognises the contribution made by all of those supporters who've sadly lost their lives in the cause of following Sunderland. And the key thing now is we are trying to actually identify the families of people who are relatives of people who've lost their lives in the pursuit of following Sunderland Football Club, because on the morning of the unveiling on the 11th of February, before the home game against Reading, we'd like to invite those family members and friends along to the unveiling if they would like to come. And I think, Nick, you've got the details as to how people can do that.
Yes. Now, I know that there's been an article in the Sunderland Echo, and there's been some response to that article, and some of the families or members of the families have come forward. Now, probably the best way to get hold of you or Joanne, who's running the project, is through the Facebook page or the website, probably the Facebook page for the Sunderland Supporters Heaven branch. So if you're on Facebook and you find the Sunderland Supporters Heaven branch, leave a message on there.
Correct.
Now, the families involved, or the people involved that so tragically lost their lives, January 1961, away to Liverpool, 4 lost their lives, and this is who you mentioned, the coach breaking down, and that was Michael Oxbury, who was 15 at the time, James Fenton, who was 26, James Fleury, who was 17, and David Scott, who was 17 as well. And all 4 of them were from Sunderland, and that was reported in the Newcastle Journal on January the 30th in 1961. So if there's any members of those families who actually may have already been in contact, but it would be lovely to hear from those members of those families. Then in February 1973, February the 3rd, a car travelling home from Reading, which would be appropriate to the home game against Reading, 2 supporters lost their lives. That was Kevin Bottom, who was 19 of West Bolden, and Keith Bowen, who was 16 of Bolden Colliery. So if anybody knows members of their family, it would be great to hear from you. And then in November of 1988, November the 2nd, a car accident travelling to Oxford away. 3 supporters lost their lives. There was Geoffrey Talbot, who was 24 of Percy Terrace and Hendon. He was the son of James and Anne Talbot. Neil Hunter, who was 21 of Hall Farm. He was the son of Brian and Lillian and brother of Karen, Brian and Graham. And then Geoffrey Harle, who was 24 of Hall Farm. He was the son of Jennifer and Ron, and the brother of Lindsay, Michael and Catherine. So if anybody related to any of those that I've just read their names there, if they could get in contact, that would be amazing.
If I can add, you know, there is other people as well who've passed away on their way to or from a Sunderland game. We're not just talking about the people that you've just read out, they're examples. So anybody who finds themselves in that position, you know, we do want to recognise those people. Those people lost their lives supporting the lads. The Heaven branch exists to try and, you know, realise that despite the chant Sunderland till I die, in fact, if you've got Sunderland in your blood, it continues after you die, and the rest of us will keep your memory alive. And that's what we're trying to do through this plaque that's going to go, by the way, adjacent to the fan statue just outside the main stand at the Stadium of Light.
Yeah, right in front of reception, down the steps. And it's the site, the Heaven branch. I mean, there are some remarkable stories, some very moving stories posted by family members of Sunderland fans. It's remarkable how popular the site is and how it's taken off and how many people have been posting their stories. So just repeat, you know, if you've got any connection with anybody who's travelled to games away from home and you want to be involved in this day and this plaque, please, as I say, get in contact through the Facebook page. So that would be wonderful. That is the Facebook page for the Sunderland Supporters Heaven branch. It's worth mentioning maybe now as well that in the 19th minute today, there's hopefully going to be applause for the tragic death of Elliot Eyre, who was only 19, and he was killed on Boxing Day. He was walking home, was hit by a car. And he used to travel with the concert branch with his dad, Alan. He used to come to all the home games, went to a number of away games. You may know him because he used to go to the Fans Museum after many matches, and there'll be applause for Elliot Eyre today in the 19th
minute. An awful
minute.
loss, and that applause will be very, very heartfelt.
Yeah.
Just as the feelings would have been heartfelt in 1961 or 1973 or any of those other years we're talking about. Absolutely awful. Sadly, sometimes it happens, and the rest of us are left pretty powerless to do anything about it. But the least we can do is to remember these people and acknowledge them.
So, and if you've not seen the memorial garden now, which is in front of the main stand, take a moment to take a look, because people have been laying stones in memory of loved ones, and some beautifully painted stones there as well. So it's another
indeed
aspect of that memorial garden. Something that's again has taken off, isn't it? It's amazing.
Yeah,
how
absolutely.
The
The Heaven branch are doing such a lot of good work. One of the things they're doing, as you say, is to really sort of reinvigorate, if that's the word, this memorial garden that we have, where the plaque that does exist there, that I was responsible for putting up, 7 or 8 years ago, recognises the Sunderland players, or former Sunderland players, who passed away during the First and Second World Wars, and now that whole area is really being dedicated. It is next to the fan statue. That whole area is being dedicated to remembering fans who we've lost over the years, and that's what this plaque is to do with. And as you say, the memory pebbles that they're doing as well is all part of that. And if you are at the stadium, it's probably best to go on a non-match day when it's quieter and more peaceful, and you can have a good look around there. But it's a place for some quiet contemplation and remembering people whose hearts are still with us and hearts are still red and white.
And amazing, really, and how this aspect of it all came from one phone call to Total Sport.
Yes, absolutely.
Remarkable.
Mr. Kennedy, who rang in, was really ringing in to talk about these lads from Liverpool, lads killed on the way back from the Liverpool match, Sunderland supporters, and talking about could we do something to recognise them. It was from that I got the idea of thinking, yeah, what could we do? I thought a plaque to actually remember these people would probably be the right thing to do. And as I say, thankfully now, after I've tried for a couple of years to get it going, once the Heaven branch got involved, and Joanne, who is something of a tour de force when it comes to actually getting things done, has got hold of the task, raised the money, got a sponsor, and that's now in process. And as I say, we're now at the stage where we are announcing it. We are trying to attract as many relatives of these people as possible to invite them if they would like to come to the unveiling of the plaque. And had we been at home in the fourth round of the FA Cup, we would have done it that day. It would have been pretty much on the anniversary of the lads who died coming back from Liverpool. But obviously we're away, so we're doing it the next Saturday home game against Reading. And as you say, sadly, there was an example of people killed on the way back from the Reading game in 1973. So there is, plenty of appropriate factors there in the plaque being unveiled in the game against Reading.
Indeed, thanks for that, Rob. On a brighter note, when we were at Shrewsbury last week, we mentioned at the top of the programme a wedding between Peter Oliver and Kellyanne. They were getting married up in near Derwent Reservoir, and they're from South Shields. They travel on the South Shields bus. They're sunning themselves by a pool in Jamaica.
Oh, very nice too.
Very nice indeed. Enjoy. It's freezing here.
It's not raining.
It's not raining yet. But be blessed for small mercies. I was told on the way in, actually, someone said it's the next few days it's going to snow. So brace yourselves. This afternoon's game then, Swansea. Tony Mowbray at pains to play down that this will be a walkover because of their recent record, 1 win in 11. And as he said, and as we remember when we were down at Swansea, they were a very good team.
I expressed some surprise. I didn't know anybody had thought it might be a walkover.
Well, I think people have been looking at this 1 win in 11 and thought, this is a banker.
Don't be daft. That's not how football works.
It's not how Sunderland work.
If you could predict football matches, you'd all be on the beach next to that couple who've just got married in Jamaica because you'd won the pools. You can't just predict football matches like that. Swansea are a good team. They have had a bad run in terms of results. Not all of their performances have warranted those results recently, I gather. But I always worry when you come up against a team with on a bad run, because they're due a win. I think Manchester City might have turned up at Southampton the other night and thought, this is a walkover. We've only lost one game away. They've only won one game at home, and this is going to be easy. And if you watch that game, as I did, Southampton didn't just win; they thoroughly deserved to win. There's a perfect example of how things don't go according to the form book. So anybody who thinks that you're just going to turn up this afternoon and beat Swansea, well, think again. It's going to be a very, very hard game. If Swansea play well and if Sunderland play well, I'd back Sunderland to win. But you don't know how it's going to go. You don't know what the referee is going to be like. You don't know if you're going to have the rub of the green this afternoon. But hopefully we will. We're confident. We've been playing well ourselves. But Niall Quinn, above all other people, Niall Quinn always used to say that the moment you think you've got it cracked, football will come back to shock you.
And we know that. I spoke to someone in the week and said, talking about currently covering Sunderland, how good it is, they've been playing well, but I did say, Sunderland, they could just drop off the abyss in the next game.
Well, any team can.
That's what they do.
Any team can. Look at Manchester City at Southampton the other night. Nobody expected Manchester City to play like that, and that's Manchester City, for goodness sake. Sunderland are a young team. Any young team is going to blow hot and cold. Fortunately, most of this season they've blown hot, but they're going to have a game when things don't quite go for them. Look at the West Brom game. Things didn't quite go well for them. West Brom hadn't been on a great run until just before that. I know they'd won the 3 games before that, but they were coming from a very lowly position in the league, and they've continued on that upward curve now, have West Brom. But tough game for Sunderland this afternoon. If we can take all 3 points from it, it will set us up beautifully for next week's game against Middlesbrough. But you've got to win this game first, and it's going to be easier said than done. We were looking for omens. You mentioned the referee. It's Keith Stroud this afternoon, who was in charge here when Sunderland beat Wigan 2-1. Yeah. He was also in charge at Ashton Gate when Sunderland won He's been in charge of Sunderland numerous times over the years. He's a referee who tends to let some things go. Sometimes he makes some decisions that you think, what's he given that for? Because it's identical to one he's just let go 2 or 3 minutes ago. In particular, he's a referee who I find lets a lot of grappling go on at corners, but you never know when he's suddenly going to say, that's a penalty. Might be a penalty to the other team, not ours. But I can think of 1 or 2 games in particular where he's been quite lenient in what he's let go. But you just don't know with the referee.
No, you don't. Well, Rob, thank you very much indeed. Thanks for all that. A reminder to, if you do know anybody who's involved, in a family member of any of those that were so tragically killed on their way to a game, please contact the Sunderland Supporters Heaven branch on their Facebook page. That would be absolutely wonderful. Rob Mason, Sunderland club historian. Just briefly, Sunderland, Patterson in goal, Gooch, Ballard, O'Nien and Hume, Evans, Neal, Roberts, Ahmad, Clark and Stewart. On the bench, Bass, Wright, Bart, Barr, Diaku, Bennett and Mishu. We will hear from Tony Mowbray again before kick-off at 3. But in the meantime, let's get a roundup, and including that Man United, Manchester City, Manchester derby, the latest in that and everything else that's happening today and tomorrow from Colin White.
Thank you very much, Nick, and to Rob and to Gary before that as well. It's not even a latest score now, it's a full-time score at Old Trafford, and Manchester United have beaten Manchester City 2-1. Jack Grealish gave Man City the lead after an hour, but 2 in the last 12 minutes from Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford, meaning that Manchester United take the 3 points and move above Newcastle United in the Premier League table as well. They are up to 3rd and Newcastle are down to 4th. We'll come back to Newcastle actually in a couple of minutes' time. The other game in the it's in the Championship, the early kick-off. Rotherham have thrashed Blackburn 4-0. And a very, very comfortable win for them in the end. It's not finished, but it's going to finish with a Rotherham victory. Connor Washington in the 90th minute, but Hakeem Odofin had scored after 33 seconds. It is now a full-time, actually. So Rotherham 4, Blackburn 0, the full-time score. An early goal, a late goal, a couple in the middle there from Oliver Rathbone and Shane Ferguson as well. But a terrific win for Rotherham, 4-0 over Blackburn. Lots of non-league action today as well. There was a pitch inspection at Boundary Park in the FA Trophy 4th round, but Oldham against Gateshead goes ahead. It's one of those annoying trips for Gateshead fans because they were originally drawn at home, and then there's floodlight maintenance going on at the International Stadium, so they've had to switch that tie to Boundary Park, but it goes ahead today in the FA Trophy. Blythe Spartans are away at Scarborough in National League North. In the Northern Premier League Premier Division, South Shields game away at Guiseley, and the other game in that division is our featured non-league game of the afternoon. Morpeth at home to Gainsborough Trinity. Our non-league reporter Paul Dixon is at Craig Park this afternoon, and Paul, it's been a long time since anybody, never mind you, saw Morpeth win a game.
Well, yeah, dead right. Good afternoon, Colin. Yes, yeah, dead right. I'm just sitting, had a lovely cup of tea here with Chairman Ken Beattie, and Ken is very, very realistic. The 5th bottom at the minute. It's a long time since they won a game. It was October when they won the last game, but they have had lots of injuries, and Ben Sears, Liam Noble and Callum Morris, 3 lads who would be in the team week in, week out, haven't played for a long time, and Ken's told me that probably them 3 could be out till the end of the season. It's a difficult run for Morpeth, and what a difference a year makes. I mean, a year ago they were riding high and they were in the playoffs and, looking to maybe get promoted, but sometimes even they can make a hell of a difference. They've got a tough game again today against Gainsborough Trinity. As I've said, Morpeth are 5th bottom. They've got to start picking up results and push their way into the middle of the table. I mean, when I was speaking to Ken, he's very realistic. He says he'll be happy to stay in the league this year. But it's a tough game for them this afternoon, Colin. It really is. Yeah, it is. Just a quick word on Gateshead as well. I know your line's a little bit jumpy, but we'll persevere for the moment. Gateshead would far rather, of course, they would be playing this game at home, and it's a source of, I think, quite a lot of frustration among supporters that they're not able to play this trophy game at home. But it's a big game for them this afternoon. Oldham will not be easy, but it's a chance to make even more progress in the trophy. Well, it is, Colin. I mean, yes. I mean, I know Gateshead are, I think, the third bottom at the minute, but there could be, 8,000 or 9,000 at Oldham this afternoon, and it would be, nice financial reward for Gateshead. Are they good enough to go down there and get a result? I think they are. I mean, they've been playing very, very well lately. They've got their front six who are attacking, and if they can keep it tight at the back, I think, they could get a result down there today. But if the crowd's there, financially, it'll be a terrific reward for them. It really will, Colin.
Yeah, they made a signing yesterday as well. Quaven Castro joining on loan from West Bromwich Albion, and he starts this afternoon as well. Paul Dixon, thank you very much for the moment then. Our non-league reporter, we will be back with Dicka at Craig Park throughout the afternoon. In the East Division of the NPL, we should have had 4 games. We've only got 3. North Shields game at Tadcaster Albion postponed, but Consett against Pontefract Collieries, Ossett United against Dunstan, and a cracker between Hebburn and Stockton all go ahead. Berwick are at home to Heart of Midlothian B in the Scottish Lowland League, and a special word for Hordon, who are away at West Didsbury in Charlton in the 4th round of the FA Vase this afternoon. Our last team standing in the competition. We are going to follow them this afternoon, and whatever their outcome, obviously we hope for a positive one, but whatever the outcome, we will speak to them in our local football roundup, which will be at 5:45 today. Tomorrow, though, Newcastle United at home to Fulham in the Premier League. Who'd have predicted that one being 4th against 6th at this point in the season? But it is, and it's a 2 o'clock kick-off tomorrow, live here on BBC Radio Newcastle. The build-up with Matthew Raisbeck and John Anderson begins at 1. Razor has had a chat to the head coach Eddie Howe ahead of the game. This is what he had to say on bringing new players in during the January transfer window.
No, we're working hard at the moment on staying very much in contact with the market and looking at players and doing a lot of work. But we're not imminently close to signing anybody. We're not actively bidding for players at the moment. It's a watching brief currently. I think the bigger challenge for January is it's not the ideal time to recruit. There's a much smaller pool of players available. Potentially prices are higher as well because there's a smaller availability. Not many teams want to make drastic changes to their squad, so that's why the recruitment in that month can sometimes be very difficult. Now, last year I thought we did exceptionally well in a difficult month, but this year we're in a different position, so we want to add real quality to the group if we're going to do anything. So it's very much got to be the right player.
So that is Eddie Howe there, Newcastle against Fulham. 2 o'clock kick-off tomorrow. That's actually the second BBC Radio Newcastle commentary tomorrow, because before that, from 11 o'clock in the morning, the focus is on the Hetton Centre. Sunderland and Durham doing battle in the Women's Championship. We had a player from both sides on Total Sport during the week. First up here is the Durham captain, Sarah Wilson, speaking to Simon Price.
It's been a difficult start to the season, and we're not sitting in the position where we would like to be sitting, and it's something that's a little bit alien to us, but we're really excited for Sunday. It's a massive game for both teams.
And I guess it's pretty tricky when you haven't played very much recently. You've only played, once in the last month or so. So I don't know if it's been useful to have a kind of a mini pre-season in the middle of the campaign. I don't know if that meant you could enjoy Christmas a bit more than you otherwise would have done.
It kind of does and it doesn't. I mean, we got such a fantastic result before the Christmas break, and I guess the break come at the worst time for us, really, because we're really starting to build up a little bit of momentum. But it was good to have the FA Cup game nice and early, coming back after the break, being able to get that result on the board. That was really important.
So that is the Durham captain, Sarah Wilson. The Sunderland centre-half, Grace McCarthy, is one of 10 players across both squads facing their former club tomorrow. It was a 1-1 draw between the two sides back in August.
Yeah, I think obviously it was the first game of the season last year, so it was always going to be quite, I think, like a tasty derby, as they say. And I think for us, going, a point's a good thing. Like, credit to Durham. I think obviously last year, where they finished shows how good they are. But obviously this weekend it's about us. It's about focusing on what we can do. And obviously being on the home ground, we want to make Hetton kind of our home territory and a bit of a fortress to come to. So yeah, ultimately this weekend, as tough as it's going to be and as challenging as it's going to be, the focus has to be on what we can do, and that's what we're looking at right now.
So it is an 11:30 kick-off tomorrow morning. I will be joined at the Hetton Centre by Helen Hardy, build-up and commentary from 11 o'clock on DAB Digital Radio and on Freeview Channel 719. Also tomorrow is the next step in the Newcastle Falcons European Challenge Cup adventure. They are in Wales to face Cardiff. Head coach Dave Walder was asked whether it was a shame to move away from domestic action after last weekend's terrific Premiership win over Leicester.
Not really. I think we're looking forward to a slight change. The last two European games were at the start of this Premiership block. These finish a block of games, so we're really excited about a different tournament and really hopefully giving a better account of ourselves than we did in those first two games.
So that one is a 1 o'clock kick-off tomorrow. Live commentary with Ian Smith and Dean Gray on the BBC Sport website and the BBC Sport app. Today's European Challenge Cup game between Bath and Toulon in the southwest has been postponed because of flooding. The pitch at the Rec deemed unplayable, and also all sorts of standing water in various different parts of the stadium as well. So that one is off. Locally again, last night, 2 basketball encounters for the Newcastle Eagles. The men were away at Caledonia Gladiators and lost by 11 points, 97-86. Javion Hamlet, the Eagles' top scorer, with 19 points, chucking in 6 rebounds and 5 assists as well. So not a bad night for him, but not a great night for the team. And in the WBBL, it was a record regular season crowd for the WBBL at the Community Arena. Newcastle Eagles at home to Leicester Riders, beaten though them as well by 82 points to 60. It's their well, they were beaten after a couple of wins in a row in the Championship, so they sit 8th in the WBBL, do the Newcastle Eagles. Tomorrow evening in the ice hockey, Whitley Warriors looking to bounce back from the disappointing 2-leg cup defeat to Billingham Stars last weekend. They are at home to Sheffield Scimitars at Hillheads at 5 o'clock tomorrow. On the other side of the world, in tennis, there was disappointment for Britain's Cameron Norrie in the ASB Classic final against Richard Gasquet in Auckland. He was 4-1 up in the final set as well, was Cameron Norrie, but he lost by 2 sets to 1. The American qualifier Lauren Davis won her second WTA title of her career earlier this morning. It's her first in 6 years as well. She won the Hobart International final against Elisabetta Cocciaretto of Italy. And finally, it is semi-finals day at Snooker's Masters at Alexandra Palace in London. The first of those has the double champion Mark Williams against Jack Lazowski, and he is 3-0 up as well, is Mark Williams. It is 1-6, but Mark Williams leading by 3 frames to 0. The second semi-final tonight has the 2020 champion Stuart Bingham taking on the 2019 champion Judd Trump. That one will get underway at 7 o'clock. But for us, at just gone 2:30, it is time to head back to the Stadium of Light as we build up to Sunderland Swansea. 3 o'clock kick-off in the company of Nick Barnes and Gary Bennett.
If you love Knight Rider or Baywatch, then make sure you relive the music and the memories from 2 iconic decades with me, Simon Logan. Fantastic 80s and ultimate 90s. Now streaming on the BBC Sounds app.
The sound of the North East. BBC Radio Newcastle.
We out.
The sound of
Sunderland. Clark taking on Story into the penalty post. Get in! Get in! It's in! Call back to Altidore, picked up here by Barini. Get in! What a goal! Sunderland are back in the Championship. They're back to the promised land.
Great sport kicks off here.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
We'll hear from Tony Mowbray again shortly. Sunderland, Patterson in goal. We think, I've been trying to watch the warm-up here, but I'm not getting any clues at all, apart from the small sort of 3-a-side that they're playing down below us, and Gooch seems to be more on the left than he is on the right. So we assume that Gooch will probably play left back and Hume right back.
I think so. I think Trey Hume I think he prefers to play right back. I think
that's where he's had
a
an
little
impact,
bit,
doesn't it?
I think he feels a lot more comfortable playing right back.
Weeks.
Gooch, we all know, has played on the left-hand side before, as a left wing back, left back, or even as a left winger. So I would presume that Lyndon Gooch will play on the left-hand side.
And so Ballard and O'Nien, the centre halves. Evans back in this afternoon. Neil, Roberts, Ahmad, Clark and Stewart. And the bench is Bast, Wright, Bart, Barr, Diaku, Bennett and Mishu. Swansea, it's the team that lost to Burnley 2-1. Bender in goal, Stephen Bender. Latibaudiere, Cabango, Darling and Manning. Some back four, isn't it, in just names alone. Allen, Grimes, Fulton, Pirot, Cooper and Cullen. Now we had Andy Robinson, who summarises for BBC Radio Wales, on the programme last night. You spoke to him. And interesting what he was saying about, you know, the run that they've been on, Swansea, that on their day they can play some of the best football in the division, but they've been conceding goals and not scoring goals, and that's at the moment their problem.
And that's the balance which you've got to try to get, really. It's okay playing, shall we say, tippy-tappy football,
We've seen it on numerous times.
How you doing, guys? Just had to see to me,
we
kids.
even talk about
Hope you're
Manchester City
all right.
at the present moment. It's okay
Hope
playing
you're all
tippy-tappy
well.
football, but when you are put under pressure, then you're asking questions, and I think that's one reason why Tony Mowbray has changed the shape of the team. I think he wants the likes of maybe Jack Clark to push further on, Roberts to push further on, Stewart to push further on. So what that's going to enable is them to stop him from playing out from the back. And then the question is, how good are you when you're under pressure?
We'll hear from Tony Mowbray in a moment, and he talks about Jack Clark, and what he wants from Jack Clark is consistency. He says when he's at his best, he's amazing, but he just doesn't do it enough.
Yeah, we've, numerous times he spoke about this in regards of players, and even when we was in the Division 1. And, people saying, oh, we're too good for this division. No, we weren't too good for that division. The thing is, we was in that division for a reason. And we talk about consistency. The people who are turning in, 5 out of 6 games, good games, or shall we say 8 or a 9 out of 10, week in, week out, they're the players who play at the top because they're consistent. The ones who play in the Championship, we're talking about, yes, a 7, a 6, a 7, and then you talk about maybe 3, maybe a 4 out of 6 games are playing well. That's why they're playing at that level. In the Division 1, it's maybe 2 or 3 games. That's why. And it's the same with Jack Clark. You're talking about consistency. We talk about Ross Stewart. Can he play at a higher level? You don't know until he goes up there, and then you're talking about can he score goals. Now, people were questioning him about this championship. We were questioning Sunderland about championship. We need better players, we need better quality, but they've come into this league, and to be fair, they're not out of place. The reason being is because of consistency.
Playing devil's advocate here, Ahmad and Roberts,
Evans, Neil,
when they're
Roberts,
together
Ahmad,
and playing well,
Clark,
they're almost virtually unplayable. But the other side of that is they were playing a League One team last week in Shrewsbury. Ultimately, they came through because of a late goal from Luke O'Nien. Should there be more from Roberts and Ahmad with the skill that they have got?
Well, Ahmad is... Listen, he'll get into any team in the Championship. That is a fact. And sometimes wingers are typical wingers. On the day, and we've talked about this, they'll win you the game. On the off day, they can lose you the game. But, again, we talk about Ahmad. He's a special talent. We can see that he's way ahead of a lot of the players here and at this level. Yeah, you've got to put up with it. Sometimes he is frustrating, but you've got to also think about when he's back at Man United, the quality all of a sudden goes through the roof. He's got better players around him, so all of a sudden he's got to step up, and the quality what we've seen, what he's got, you're thinking, wow. We're talking about, can we, I was speaking to somebody yesterday. It'd be great to sign Ahmad. We can buy him for 15 million. I said, 15 million? Oh, yeah. I said, his cost Man United, was it 30, near enough 40 million to bring him in? And he said, we could get, we can try. So that's, and I think people forget that, Ahmad, special talent. Great to sign him. But then when you look back and you think, Man United signed him, and what the price they paid for him.
Yes, indeed. Well, talking of talent, Anthony Patterson's been named the North East Sports Writers Association Young Player of the Year for 2022. And here are the thoughts of the Sunderland head coach, Tony Mowbray.
Yeah, it's a great story for the boy. I think, obviously I didn't know him until 4 months ago, whatever it was. Now I've been here, but... a very unassuming kid, keeps himself much to himself, like a goalkeeper. What's fantastic is he keeps the ball out of the net. He finds a way to. He's a big framed goalie. He's not really a small, sharp, athletic type goalie. He's a big frame goalie, but he keeps the ball out of the net. He uses his frame fantastically well. He's got a personality that is good for a goalie. He's not bouncing around all the time, full of energy. He's, in my mind, he's calm. He's assured. He relaxes the back line. He just does his job. And he's been amazing. The main thing of any goalkeeper is keeping the ball out of your net, and I think he does that extremely well. His distribution is He's wants to learn on that. We're trying to bring him out of his box and help us spread the centre halves so that he can play in between them at times and use his feet. He's doing that exceptionally well, and as his confidence grows, I'm sure he's got a huge future in front of him. Hopefully, with his football club as we move forward, he's a big asset.
You talked about Fulham. You talked about them when they got promoted and how they were sort of the one team that was very difficult to live with. And of course, now you've drawn them in the FA Cup. I mean, do you see that as a possibility, in terms of a benchmark of how far you have come as a team?
I think it's an exciting tie for us, to be honest. I think maybe you haven't been, but the new stand on the Riverside is amazing, and to run out at Craven Cottage is a great experience. So their team, I looked at their team against Hull. They'd made quite a lot of changes. I don't know how they approach their FA Cup. They see an opportunity at home. They might play a strong team and try and get it done and make some changes if they think they can win. I think it's just a great experience for us. These games are like a free hit for us, really. Go and be aggressive and confident and play with like we can at our best. Not to be afraid of them, not to play on the back foot, not to keep it nil as long as we can, because invariably these teams with high quality find a way to score. So we'll go to Fulham and be attack-minded and aggressive and try and win. But it's a good test for us, and I know the FA Cup means a lot to this football club, in 50 years this year, and but we have to be realistic, on the journey that we're on. We need to focus on making sure we get enough points. Let's from my mind, let's get to mid 50 odd points to start with, and then let's hope we've got lots of games to the left and see if we can take it up towards 70. And if you get around 70 points, you're going to make the playoffs. So at this moment, our first target is to get to 50 odd points, and and yet when this FA Cup game comes around, I won't be sitting here thinking, we're going to rest him and we're going to rest him and we're going to rest him. We'll go there and try and be positive and try and see if we can get a result.
You were talking about loans and permanent players and young players. We look back to the day that Ahmad, Michu, Barr and Bennett all arrived, and now you're at a place where Ahmad's getting regular football, Michu's starting to become a little bit more regular, Barr. What about Bennett, though? At 18, he's come from Costa Rica, this country, and here with his dad. I mean, where do you see his development at the moment?
Well, it paused a bit there because he went off to the World Cup and missed a month for us. And I've talked about the workload of a training camp in a World Cup around game prep, and so he needed to have a week or two to get back up to the numbers that we train at. And so I think his journey's just starting again, really, after taking a gulp for air for the World Cup. So he'll be involved again this week. I think last weekend was just trying to reignite him back into the team, and there is still issues around the language. It's not natural. If I'm talking like this to him, he's not probably picking up as much as most people are going to pick up, especially on the training pitch. It's hard for him to understand when we want him inside, when we want him outside, when he should dribble, when he should pass. God knows what the words in Spanish are to get to the back stick, get in the box. Maybe I should be learning instead of him, but there are issues, and that's why I'm saying it does take time. He is an 18-year-old boy, and yet he has been in my office with his interpreter, wanting to know what he has to keep working on to get more regular game time. But I think it's only a process. As I've said to you time and time again, I like young footballers who have a growth mind. He wants to play. He wants to get in the team, and so he needs to do his extra work, keep working, and I'll be giving him opportunity. And I'm pretty sure somewhere along the line he's going to make or create or score a goal, and we're all going to think, wow, Joey's coming, and so he'll maybe start the game after, and then he'll have a dip again. And when he's 21, 22, hopefully he's a regular in this team, scoring goals, making goals. Everybody's talking about him, and the phone never stops ringing to try and sign him. But this moment is a journey for him.
Are you perhaps more mindful of someone like him because of that language and because of his youth and because it's a new country for him? And you said before, you talked about Christmas and giving the players time off to be with their families. So you've got that sort of responsibility, if you like.
Yeah. The negative for him is that he's Spanish speaking and all the other lads are French speaking, and it's really, you sort of, you throw them into the mix, all these young foreign boys who came over, and they're in a group of 4 there, and they sit and have dinner together, and yet Dewey can't even speak to the French speaking lads who are laughing and joking and integrating into our team because he doesn't really understand. He's not part of the conversation. But I genuinely think it's just got to be time, because he's a happy, smiley kid who wants to work hard, and we all wishing him well, and yet I can't flick a switch on his back that makes him understand every word we say. He has to go through the process of working hard and trying to pick up the language, and then when his opportunity comes on the pitch, he has to do what he's good at. He has to beat people, he has to put the ball in the box, he has to drive with it and create goal-scoring opportunities for the team, and he shows in training that he's got all of that. He's really fast and sharp and clever, and for me it's just, does he play in front of Clark if we're trying to win games at this moment? I think Jack at his best is amazing, and at his worst Dewey probably gets in front of him, so it's Jack's striving for consistency, isn't he? He's a young boy himself, so we just keep going with him, and I think Dewey's now over his World Cup experience. He's broken the back of his fitness stuff around getting back around it. He'll be probably starting on the bench this week. We'll get on the pitch, and see if he can impact the game.
You mentioned Jack Clark there. Has his performances over the last couple of weeks emphasised just how important he is?
Yeah, I think he's striving for consistency. I think, them first few weeks when I got here, left wing back, he was like, wow. Once he's in his flow and he's running and he's dribbling, he's hard to stop. Once he straightens up and stops going across the pitch and starts going towards their goal, he's like, he can be devastating and a match winner. So just to keep sending him the messages, really, of that train well every day, practice the good habits every day. Don't be too much of a, excuse the pun, like Jack the lad who thinks it's all a bit too easy because he's talented. Keep practicing good habits every day. Become the best player you can, and on match days, because you repeat it in training every day, on match days it just happens. If you don't train very well and it's a bit light-hearted for you, you can't switch it on and off and come match day and beat 3 men and put a brilliant ball in the box. Or if you do, it's only once in 90 minutes, which isn't enough.
And the other end of the age spectrum, Corey Evans, I know you talked about this sort of taking him out, if you like, just to rest him so he doesn't get fatigue. Yeah. How important is he, and is he ready to come back? And you sort of touched on it, I think, at Blackpool when you said letting Jay go, you need someone as cover for Corey because he's become that important figure. Yeah.
Well, he's back in full training now. He looks really sharp in training, to be honest, as if it does refresh the brain, does help the legs. Yes, and he's a good sound barrier for how the team's feeling and what the dressing room's like, and so Corey's back in training and looking forward to the upcoming fixtures.
One more for me. We talked the other week about kick-off times, and you were saying how Jurgen Klopp will, if it's an 8 o'clock kick-off, will make the players train at 8 o'clock at night. We've had this other issue came up at the FA Cup weekend when Nottingham Forest flew from Nottingham to Blackpool. I mean, where do you stand in terms of travel? Because I know as often as not teams will go the night before, and I mean it did seem a bit extreme.
I think it's the Premier League, to be honest. It's if the Premier League are paying their players what they pay them, a flight at a quarter of a player's average salary is not an issue for them. For us, travel is a huge issue really most weeks. It's I do think the club do push the board out, so Cardiff's and Swansea's and Norwich's we probably fly, but that's saving you a 6-hour trip, 6 hours there, 6 hours back, and especially if you've got a game 2 days later, is not ideal for anybody. So I think you have to do what's right. The example you give, it's not for me to comment, other than it doesn't seem right that you'd fly from Nottingham to Blackpool, but I think we've had some challenges. We stayed away, didn't we, recently when we had around New Year and Christmas, which isn't ideal for the players and their families, and yet it was the right thing to do. It wasn't no good getting back at 2:30 in the morning and trying to train the next day and then getting on the bus the day after that to go back to where we've just come from. And so, because we're here to try and win football matches, we do have some challenges. Because of the Rotherham game getting suspended, or postponed, it's given us a bit of a conundrum, a challenge. some of the options are giving us 3 away games in a week on the bounce, and it's not something we want to do really. All that travelling around the country.
Hello, Jennifer Andrews
one every
from
3
Malta.
days is not ideal for
How
us.
are the
So
lads?
trying to fit that
I did from Melbourne,
postponed
Australia.
game in is proving a challenge, and then the travelling on the back of that and the bookings of hotels and for rearranged fixtures and stuff is never easy. But I'm sure it'll work itself out, and hopefully we can stay positive on the road and keep picking up points.
Can you monitor the effect it has on players when you do a 4-hour coach journey, or likewise do a 1-hour plane flight or whatever?
Yeah, I think it's always the balance of the player welfare against the finances, of course, and the player welfare has to come first. But again, I go back to, I don't manage the travel budgets, and I do think the travel budgets get blown out of the water sometimes when unforeseen things happen, and you have to take a flight in this game, or you have to take a train rather than jump on the bus. It's yeah, it can be difficult. How do you monitor them? The players do their welfare every morning, really. How was their night's sleep? How are they feeling? Is there aches and pains? And when you, particularly the trip we've just done, I know how I felt. I slept in 3 different beds that week. You know, it's like.
Hello, Doug. How you doing? Can you hear the commentary?
You
okay?
can start feeling like an old man when your back starts aching because you've been sleeping in a hard bed or a soft bed, or you know, just it's not ideal really. But so the same for footballers who
Fantastic.
then have to go and do 10, 11k on the football pitch. You know, if they've been sleeping in different beds, it's not easy sometimes. You know, that's why Premier League teams take mattresses for players, don't they? They stick.
Okay, now thank you,
15
everybody.
mattresses in a minibus, and then the players change their mattress when they get to the hotel, so they sleep on the mattress that they're used to. It's just different levels of preparation and different finance around it. So.
So that Giles, the SAFC, mustn't be going to the home games anymore. He's been streaming a lot of them now.
At this moment, breaking budgets because we're a big football club. He's trying to.
No, it's just on his own.
Get back to doing it, and I think it's the right. I think it's the right way. Listen, we can all be greedy. I could sit here and stamp my feet and say, "Come on, for promotion this year. Let's spend 20 million on blah blah blah." And I knew what the job was when I came in, and I don't mind being patient with young players and trying to do it properly and make sure that the club grows, and so that whenever we get to where we're trying to get to, we're doing it from a real solid base.
The sound of Sunderland.
Rolls it though to Vaughan. Vaughan inside the penalty. Oh my God! Whoa! What a screamer! David Vaughan. Here is Raphael against Vito Manone. Raphael. Yes! He's done it! He's done it! Sunderland through to Wembley.
Gets the whole heart beating.
Great sport kicks off here.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
And a very happy birthday today to Philip Bones, who is 55. He says he's
David
going
Stevens,
out to
thanks
the
for putting us on, brother. I'm in Western Australia, originally from Washington. I know, we truly appreciate it. You're welcome, you're welcome. If there's anybody who's new to the channel, just click the subscribe button and click the like, the thumbs up.
All in black,
we'll much appreciate that, thank you.
Led out the 2 teams, Sunderland in their red and white stripes, black shorts. Swansea all in white with nice, big, bold black numbers. For us, for our sakes only, I'm sure, sitting here at the very top of the West Stand.
So are we all confident that today? What do you think is going to happen?
So, Swansea all in white away to our right at the moment in front of the Roker end. Sunderland in their red and white stripes away to our left in front of the North Stand. There's a very healthy crowd in here today, and the Premier Concourse is full. I just get the impression, I think there might be a lot of tickets given.
They've always been a decent team, Swansea, like.
And there do seem to be a lot of staff from the football club, including Mel Ray, the coach of Sunderland Women, who sat down just in front of us. And of course tomorrow,
thanks for the,
Sunderland Women play Durham Women tomorrow morning.
From Ireland.
We've got
Thank
full
you very
commentary
much,
of that with
and
Colin
Doug,
White,
what's your thoughts today?
BBC
I
Radio,
think it's
11:30.
I don't know. I think it's a close game to call this, I'd say.
Full commentary of that tomorrow on BBC Radio
I don't
Newcastle.
know. I wouldn't like to call it this way.
We have indeed.
If we're firing on all cylinders, then I think we'll do really, really well. I think we could beat them.
Yes,
I do remember.
Difficult game.
They're all difficult.
Yeah. And Gooch is playing left back.
And indeed, you're right. We're about to get underway. Lyndon Gooch at left back, Trey Hume at right back, Ross Stewart up front. Sunderland in this first half, they are attacking the Roker end, and it's Swansea are going to get us underway. Just waiting for Keith Stroud, just taking a check of his watches, looking across to the dugouts at the moment, but Swansea now get the game going, and a hoof upfield from Matt Grimes. It's headed away by Luke O'Nien down that left-hand side, and immediately trying to get away. And
hard
down
game,
the left and
but
fouled
can't
is
dismiss
Jack
Stewart.
Clark.
There's going to be goals in this 2-1 to us.
Just inside the Sunderland half on the left at the centre circle, about halfway between the centre circle and the touchline. Do you know, I had this bizarre dream last night.
Go on.
Really weird.
Hold on. Go on.
Oh, you were about to try and guess.
No. Just be careful. You are on
catches. I know. No, the dream was that Swansea playing all in white in my dream, but they had no numbers. They had no numbers on, and I thought, well, the only way I could cope with it is just all afternoon just say Swansea on the ball.
If Stewart leaves, who would you like to see come in?
And here is Ahmad playing the ball out wide on the left, and Gooch is trying to wheedle his way down to the goal line and pulls the ball back across the penalty area.
I know there's talk with Sims back, but that's not going to be. That's not replacing Sims, is it really? I don't know, because I don't really know who's out available. There's that much bollocks and bullshit gets spread on social media with who we're getting this and we're getting that. You just don't know what's going on.
Halfway inside the Swansea half.
Yeah, thanks, Doug. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Tomorrow of Sunderland women versus Durham women. Following that, from 1 o'clock, we've got the build-up and full commentary at 2 of Newcastle United at home to Fulham.
A lot of people are still asking on the chat here, and who would you like to replace Stewart if he goes? It's on everybody's mind, isn't it? They still think he's going to go.
Up towards Cullen and Pirro, and Pirro is on the ball on the left, and he was on his own. They've managed to get the ball into the centre now to Joe Allen, the Welsh international, who of course was at the World Cup. But it's won back in the end here by
is that better?
On the left of central midfield in the Sunderland half, and he gets the ball through here now to the left-hand side.
Oh, Clark, can't lose
Clark
it there.
is caught on the ball, and Swansea.
Yeah, speaking as good at playing cards close to his chest.
Neil now
I don't think it's actually a good thing at the end of the day. As long as he gets decent players coming in.
Swansea players, and the ball played through now to, trying to get it to Clark.
Keeps things close to his chest. Who cares at the end of the day? As long as he does the job right and gets his head in the right direction.
Gets a touch on it. It's gone out off the. Well, the assistant's finally put his flag up on the far side. It's a Swansea throw, but Stewart a little bit unlucky not to win the ball back. And now he makes another tackle, another throw. He limps away from that briefly, Ross Stewart, but I think he's fine. 0-0 in these opening couple of minutes.
I'd like
the ball
to
comes
see
back to
Obafemi and
Stephen Bender, who's
from Swansea, who isn't in the squad today, but out of favour. But he's
this afternoon.
a baller. He's not a bad player at all.
Player of the year for 2022 away to our left in green. And out here on the right, Trey Hume motoring on down the right wing. Ollie Cooper behind him. He sweeps the ball into the penalty area, but cleared by Swansea and been put back down to Roberts. And eventually it rolls out for a throw to Sunderland on the right. 3 minutes in, 0-0. And the throw will be taken by Hume to Roberts just in front of him. And a little back heel back to Hume, forwards to Ahmad, back to Hume.
Hey, was it somebody that says Sunderland are doing we're doing another Sun Until I Die series, or they're just doing 3 one-off episodes when we got up from Wembley?
Hume looking in the penalty area for Evans, and he's rolled it through, just kept in at the bottom corner of the penalty area by Clark. Played back to Gooch on his right, he's curled it, but it's caught by the goalkeeper. I think Gooch possibly looking for the top corner, but not the greatest amount of power in it, and Stephen Bender able to make what was a comfortable save.
Yeah, there's no pace on the ball. But you see now Sunderland are pressing high up.
Well, they're going to try and stop Swansea playing out, aren't they?
That's what they're doing.
And Roberts
pressure
now
by
just get it
early,
past Grimes. He's got it off Grimes. It ricocheted off him. He's tripped, surely. And a free kick 20 yards out on the right side of midfield. And Swansea actually struggling a little bit to cope with Sunderland at the moment.
The reason why, because Sunderland are playing right
best
up,
striker we've had, in my opinion,
allowing them to play the ball out.
So for
me,
not
being able to get hold of the ball.
For me, meet his demands and get a big, fasting supporting striker.
Clearly done the homework on Russell Martin's team.
Good pressure by Sunderland, says
Russell Martin saying this week how much he used to love playing here as centre half, of course, for
They're
most
doing a
notably,
special called What Were You
Norwich City.
Thinking? It's about signing Djaku.
He also played for Walsall when Sunderland dropped down into League One. Russell Martin was at Walsall, where he ended his playing career before going into management. Three-man Swansea wall. Roberts over the free kick. Ahmad's joined the wall.
Penny Wendell pundits just said they're doing a special What Were You Thinking? It's all about Djaku.
The wall, Liam Cullen. And Ahmad has gone on the end of the wall in the penalty area. And Roberts
tie down his neighbour's curtains.
Go, surely. It's 22 yards out.
Hit the target. That's what he's got to do.
Looking to at least work the keeper. And Roberts swings this in and just over the bar.
Ooh, over the bar from Roberts.
I think one for the album, as they say, but it's over the top and behind for goal kick to Swansea City. 5 minutes in.
It's business sense with Stuart, says Donins. We stay up without him league is tight.
Any jelly babies?
I think you expressly asked for them.
I did indeed.
Yeah, there's a few people answering that saying, like, you know, it wouldn't be the end of the world if Stuart did go. What we're panicking about, you know, I still think we'll stay up this season.
Bender bent that one out. It's a throw to Sunderland. Down the line, comes back from Ross Stewart into the centre. A lovely little touch from Dan Neal. His shot, though, straight at the goalkeeper.
Yeah, another comfortable save, but good move again.
The German, Bender, has been with Swansea for getting on for 6 years now. Here out on the left-hand side, Harry Darling, who caused so many problems for Swansea down at the Swansea.com stadium, as it's known now. Here he is again, Darling. Plays it back to Bender, across to Cabango. Ben Cabango, the Welsh international, brings this out into midfield and up towards the halfway line. Laid off by Fulton. Here's Grimes. And Grimes forwards to Fulton again, back to Cabango. And Cabango is just holding it for a moment and lays it off.
I would like to see us keep Walter Stewart, like, because I mean, once again, you can't argue with money, can you? We can't compete with that. We've never been able to.
Patterson in green at the north end of the stadium.
No, if somebody offers Stewart £40,000 a week, which could happen, he's not going to say no, is he? Realistically.
By Ballard, straight to Joe Allen and out to
yes,
Cooper
I would say no.
Cooper back inside to Allen, and Allen now teeing up. Oh,
I would say no, because I'm loyal to Sunderland. I would play for them for free.
Grimes' shot, I thought, had gone in, but it's actually just skimmed the outside of the side netting.
If it was on target, Nick, it was a goal.
But to the footballers, it's just a job, isn't it? It's just a job.
Patterson, good move by Swansea, but Ballard give the ball away.
So 0-0 still. Kick up over halfway on the left.
Don't forget, anybody new, just click the subscribe button, please, and click that thumbs up. Let's see if we can get to 30 thumbs up, or maybe 50 before half time.
Forwards to take this is Irish international Ryan Manning. He's been with Swansea a few years now, 3 years, former Rotherham defender. Back to Harry Darling, and he sweeps it up into the penalty area, and it's caught by Patterson.
Well, Giles is on.
Bowles is out on the left this time to
Brendan
Gooch. Forward of him on halfway on the left.
He's not been the last few home games, Giles, and he's only been on his own.
On that far side, but it looks as though he's going to get away from Latibaudiere, and he does, and gets the ball back eventually to Ballard, and out wide on this right-hand side now to Trey Hume. Skips past Russell Martin, gets the ball back from Ahmad into the middle now to Ross Stewart in the centre of the Swansea half,
of course it is.
but it's won back by the Swans, and Corey Evans wins it back for Sunderland and gets it down the left wing to Clark. Gooch on the overlap. Clark at the corner of the penalty area.
David Stevens commitment goals and loves the club.
Ball in is straight to Cabango.
That doesn't come easy. Tie him down for 4 years, and when we do get up, I think it will happen, and his value will rocket.
And was the flag up. A word with Ross Stewart, the referee. Ross Stewart pleading his case. Towers above Keith Stroud, the referee. And in the meantime, Cabango and Bender are knocking the ball about between themselves. The referee blows.
They're such a strange club, aren't they?
The keeper will take the free kick, places the ball just in front of
it looked like they were making a massive surge to shoot up that league.
Between the referee and Ross Stewart. And now
you know what he was asking him?
No.
Where's he going? He's put a bid in, the referee, for him, Ross Stewart.
I want an answer. He's demanding an answer. Yeah. Here's Darling out to Manning. Darling again.
Ginity would love to keep Stewart, but we can't get caught into throwing money at lads again. Absolutely right. We've had enough mercenaries. Wouldn't begrudge him a move if it was a decent fee. No, of course not. We've got to be very careful, but don't get any people going along for the free ride.
0-0. Ball comes back from the throw to Luke O'Nien. And O'Nien out wide again to Gooch. Quick ball down the wing, trying to get Clark away. Latibaudiere, a slight nudge on him, quick tug on his shirt, but it's gone out for a throw. And it's Sheffield United 1, Stoke 0. So Gooch with his throw, 15 yards inside the Swansea half on the left into Dan Neil. Has to battle for this, but he's got it across the middle. Ballard will have to chase to get in front of Cullen. He gets it forwards to Hume. Hume plays it off, actually, of Joe Allen to Ahmad eventually, but won back in front of Ahmad by Manning, who gives the ball away to Evans, finds Ahmad on the halfway line, and then eventually Hume inside to Corey Evans, and Evans across on the left to Gooch on halfway. Just tucking into the touchline with Clark ahead of him. Gooch still taking this on Fulton and Latibaudiere in front of him.
He wanted to make a move.
Play
Clark.
back to Neil. Short pass to O'Nien, back to Neil.
Somebody's got to make a run behind. There you go.
And now the run by Clark. It's intercepted by Latibaudiere, and it's a throw to Sunderland on the far side. Luton 2, West Bromwich Albion 0. Quick interplay between Dan Neil and Lyndon Gooch leads to another Sunderland throw, 18 yards or so from the corner on the left. Gooch with it again to Ahmad, trying to win it back was Latibaudiere, but the offside flag is up. Bloon bobbles past the assistant and rests beside him with his flag up. And a free kick, the referee wanting it taken from the correct spot over on the, well, just a couple of yards away from where he was initially going to take the free kick. Cabango back now to the goalkeeper. Stewart in front of him, short pass out, it's played up into the centre, and there's a foul by Dan Neil on Latibaudiere. Quickly taken free kick short, and now up towards halfway. Darling inside to Cabango. Cabango holding it for a moment, back to Darling, and Darling bringing this towards the halfway line on the left of the centre circle. Out to the left to Manning. Manning being chased by Roberts. He crosses, it's headed away by Ballard. Out to Roberts on this right-hand side, and Roberts taps it back behind him to Trey Hume. And Hume carrying this on down the touchline here on the right-hand side, looking for Stewart. He's held it well with the challenge of Cabango. Nothing wrong with that, says the referee, as Swansea win it back, and Stewart doesn't appeal. It's with Grimes, the former Exeter City midfielder, in the centre circle. And then one back. Foul, says the referee. In the middle on Fulton.
And that's the problem you've got. Well, what we've just been speaking about, consistency. Referee. Similar challenge on Stewart. Waves play on. Swansea gives a free kick. What's the difference?
I think Rob Mason earlier on when we were talking in the build-up was mentioning Keith Stroud, and that was something he did. He lets lots of things go, then he blows to something, gives one to one side, not the other, and a little bit of inconsistency with him. But anyway, he's given Swansea a free kick just in front of the centre circle in the middle.
See, Jack Clark's got to be on his toes. Know what's behind you, Jack Clark.
He's got Latibaudiere behind him at the moment. The free kick chipped down the right of the penalty area and headed out by Cabango. Ahmad's crying for it. He wants to make a break from the halfway line, but Patterson's held it and tapped it to O'Nien from the goal kick, who plays it out to Gooch wide on the left-hand side, and Gooch now looking to drive it down the left wing, but away it swings from Ross Stewart and out for a throw. To Swansea on the right-hand side, nearly 15 minutes played, Sunderland 0, Swansea City 0. These sides hold the unenviable record of the most yellow cards in the division this season. Both of them have 63 yellow cards each. As the ball picked up by Dan Neil, laid off to the left to Gooch, now forwards again to Clark. Latibodiere goes to close him down. Clark backtracks, comes back and nearly tackled by Fulton, but he gets it back to O'Nien, forwards to Evans and back again to Ballard at the back of the centre circle. And out here to Hume on the right hand side. Short pass forwards to Roberts. That blue balloon is just bobbling about on the pitch as it comes down here towards Stewart on the right, headed out by Darling. It's a throw to Sunderland, which Roberts leaves for Hume. To Ahmad, the throw. He twists away from Matt Grimes. Grimes stands in front of him. It gets it through to Roberts though, and then eventually it's an interception which takes it straight to Roberts. The cross from the right hand side from Hume comes up off Cabango and is caught by Stephen Bender, who gets it up quickly right up through the middle, but O'Nien heads it away from Pirot, the Dutchman. And out on the left here to Gooch. Clark back to Gooch behind him, forwards again to Clark, who's trying to get round the fullback on the right hand side, which he does, into the penalty area, pulls it back for Dan Neil. Neil's shot blocked. I think it was going wide, and another attempt to clear back up to the halfway line. Ballard will chase this ball. It rolls past Tony Mowbray and it's a throw to Sunderland. Yeah, I'm sure Neil's shot was going wide. Preston 0, Norwich 1. And this throw will be taken by Trey Hume to Roberts, back to Hume in his own half. Down behind him is Ballard. Ballard up to the halfway line, wide. Roberts back to Ahmad behind him. Roberts again to Ahmad, just yards behind him as he always is. Over on the left-hand side, he switches play to Lyndon Gooch, and Gooch down the line here now to Jack Clark. Clark dribbling towards the edge of the penalty area, lays it back off to Gooch. Pirot and Latibodiere are in the way, lifts it over them, straight across to the far side. Ahmad keeps it in, down in the corner. And Ahmad now taking on Cullen. Oh, he goes down, but no penalty. Told to get up by the referee. Rolls off the pitch. Play goes on. Ahmad's on his back off the pitch at the moment. Mark Venus.
So, come on the chaps.
And now Luke O'Nien fouls. Oh, there's a bit of a spat broken out in the centre circle here. Ollie Cooper's down. There are two groups just sparring on the halfway line at the moment. The referee standing out the back of it while Matt Grimes gives him earache. And now it's one big group in which Anthony Patterson's involved, and so Stephen Bender. What the goalkeepers are doing out there, is anybody's guess.
Got a latest score.
It's broken up. Cabango is pulled away. The referee, Keith Stroud,
sake, is it?
Is now in the centre of everybody. They're dissipating.
Now.
Ollie Cooper's just
red card.
His now red card for Luke O'Nien.
That's ridiculous.
O'Nien puts his hand to his head. Can't believe it. And Luke O'Nien is sent off. Luke O'Nien in the 18th minute shown a red card by Keith Stroud.
Once again, another ref totally fucks the game up for Sunderland. Where's it to surprise me? Fucking hell.
Where do you start with that one, Nick? Was it a foul on Ahmad?
Well, that's it. Where does it start? Was that a penalty? The ball breaks into the centre. Challenge on Cooper.
Yeah, I think it was a yellow card.
The players immediately reacted.
Yeah, but I don't think it was a red card.
I didn't see the foul. I didn't see the foul.
It will be appealed. But Sunderland have to play the majority of this game now with 10 men after Luke O'Nien's dismissal. It certainly got very feisty following the challenge. Cabango was the Swansea player having to be held
What
back.
was it for? I mean, if it was a red, I'll take it. I'll take it all day long if it was a red card.
We've still not restarted since the dismissal. And 19th minute applause.
Oh, that was a red card, and
the 19-year-old who was so tragically killed on Boxing Day night, walking home, member of the concert branch. He used to travel everywhere with his dad, Alan. He came to all the home games, went to a lot of the away games, often found in the fans museum after games, And Elliot, the stadium rises in applause for Elliot and his family, remembered this afternoon. Here on the ball, Grimes for Swansea. Out to the right-hand side again, Fulton. Fulton in front of Dan Neal. It comes back to Grimes. Now to Darling, just square of him, and forwards to Joe Allen, and wide now to Ryan Manning. Manning pulls the ball back to Joe Allen. Ahmad in front of him, and Darling, he will shoot. And saved by Patterson, having to go down to his right and turn it round the post for a corner to Swansea.
It's going to be an interesting game now. You know, the referee set a precedent, and he really, you know, we're talking again that word, consistency.
Well, we've got no replay here. We've no idea of how bad that challenge was.
How many times does Sunderland get players off, like players sent off? It just seems to happen time and time again.
Will come on. Who will he replace?
There's only one person.
Awful disciplinary record. Like a lot of people are agreeing on social media as well that the fact that was a red card. It was a ridiculous challenge by 09. That
0 Norwich 2.
He's going to replace Clark.
You think so? You're usually right. You're usually right.
Well done,
I'll back you for this.
It is.
The corner's not been taken. The ball's been thrown to the referee. Is Roberts?
Couldn't find any display myself, but the site says international flash.
Roberts is being sacrificed.
I think he's done more than Clark for myself.
Yeah,
he would cause more
agree.
problems.
I think with him and Ahmad together.
You know, I just think that what we've seen of Clark, he's not at it for me. He's just going to class himself unlucky.
SFC Campbell, could we hold out now though? I don't bloody know.
Manning will take the corner.
It just means that the game's changing now, doesn't it? It just means it's going to be a
corner
boring 90 minutes unless they get players sent off. They're going to just have to defend for the whole of the game.
Touch of the game to clear, and it's had to be cleared again. An attempt by Ross Stewart to put his foot through it. It ricochets up and into the hands of Anthony Patterson. Pat on the back from Mike Dodds for Patrick Roberts, who probably possibly feel hard done by.
He's taken off because Ahmad can play on his right hand side.
Yeah.
Whereas if he took Clark off there, he hasn't got a natural left-sided player.
Channel, if he can hit the
well, he's right-footed, but he plays out on the left. He cuts in on the right all the time. So
hit the subscribe button.
You can see where he's coming from there, Tony Mowbray.
0-0. And we're in the we're halfway through the first half. Bristol City 2, Birmingham 0. Here is Clark on the left-hand side. Reminder, Sunderland then playing with 10 men now. Luke O'Nien dismissed. Luke O'Nien, who scored, of course, the last-minute winner last week. And Ballard's fouled by Cooper.
I think Sunderland should just play it smart and cheeky and just try and get one of their players fucking sent off. Just having the odd word in their ears, winding them up and things like that.
Hand from Liam Cullen.
Play them at their own game.
So that was great, well done. You've just taken Ballard out.
But yeah, you just feel sorry for all the fans showing up and that into the ground, and it looks quite full. And the referee, for entertaining wise, is just totally fucked. Well, not the referee. Luke O'Neill says he as well, just totally fucked the game. Anyway, he didn't even need to make that challenge, man. That was out of anger. That was out of retaliation. That was by Luke O'Neill.
Sunderland half. Swansea holding a very high line.
But still, Luke O'Neill shouldn't be retaliating. He should be professional. He should be sort of, if he can't keep a cool head, because he's letting the fucking side down.
Joe Allen back to Manning, and forwards again to Joe Allen. The Welsh international plays it out again wide to Manning. Joe Allen, 74 caps now for Wales. Comes to Cabango, who has 5. And Cabango again.
Matthew, see how you doing? Or 9 tenths to get into
then
trouble.
Forwards to Fulton on the right hand side, back again to Cabango on the halfway line, across to Harry Darling on the left of the centre circle, and pushing slowly forward Swansea, and then Darling plays it back across to Cabango, yards inside the Sunderland half. Clark blocks Fulton's attempt to get the ball forwards. It's then played out here by Hume, who's on the left, and Gooch is on the right now, and up through the middle straight to Joe Allen. And here is Cooper, closed down by Lyndon Gooch. Cooper plays it back to Manning, inside in the middle to Grimes. Grimes forwards onto halfway to Jay Fulton. Fulton back, short pass to Matt Grimes. And he
They
plays
should
it
have
to
acted after that
Darling
challenge
in the
with
centre
Diallo.
circle.
They've changed the shape of the team, Nick.
Yeah, it's Gooch on the right now.
He's playing wing
Hume
back.
on the left. It's Hume on the left of a
yeah,
three,
yeah,
isn't he?
Yeah.
Clark's the left wing back. So forwards again through to Cullen in the penalty area. He gets through. He's trying to get past Ballard and over the goal line. The goal kick points Keith Stroud. Good work by Ballard.
Yeah, they're sort of playing three at the back. Ballard on the right-hand side, Bart's in the middle, Hume's playing as a left centre back. Clark
it's a
playing
lovely
as a left
Saturday
wing back.
football show
Gooch
again with Sunderland
seems
with the
to be
commentary
playing as a right
everywhere,
wing
and
back
it's
here.
just a typical
Yeah.
roller coaster ride supporting this lot, isn't it?
0-0,
Fucking
25
hell.
minutes played. Sunderland playing with 10.
Life is a roller coaster, you just gotta
Patterson then with the
ride
goal
it.
kick. Drives us up over the halfway line. And Gooch on the right, back to Ballard from halfway. Ballard sweeping it. Well, now a foul on Stewart. Darling puts his head in his hands, but he pushed him.
Yeah, but the linesman's there, he can see. Why didn't he flag?
Which is exactly what Ross Stewart is saying to the assistant, saying, look, he's pushed me, why didn't you see it? Keith Stroud saw it though, he's given Sunderland the free kick. And he's pushing Ollie Cooper back away from
Preston
Ahmad
nil,
and
Norwich
Clark, who are
2.
over the ball at the
It's got to
moment.
be 10 yards.
Hull 0, Huddersfield 1. I think Mike Dodds is barking some instructions to Clark, who had his look back over
I've
his
just
shoulder
now
briefly.
blocked
Clark's going to
Jacob
take
now
the
for
free
that.
kick.
I can't hear him.
Drives it towards the corner of the penalty area. Drops over there for Hume, and he put the ball in back down through the 6-yard box, but it sweeps through.
Attack it.
Dan Neal couldn't get on the end of it, picks himself up, and it's
Great
gone out for a
balling.
goal kick. 0-0 still. About 17, 18
Now
minutes.
you should be on the stage, Jacob, sweeping
Until
it.
half time, there'll be a couple of minutes of added time after that fracas and sending off.
Thanks to the other
Swansea
subscribers
pushing up
there,
to
Colin and
towards
Sean,
the,
thank you.
Halfway line again with Cabango. Back to Matt Grimes in the middle. Grimes bringing this through the centre.
Lee
on
Cattermold,
halfway.
Lee, you should get done for
Out to the
copyright
left
for
now to
impersonating Lee
Ryan
Cattermold,
Manning.
definitely.
Manning back to Cabango. Cabango on the right of midfield in the Sunderland half. Short pass inside to Grimes. He's lifted it up into the penalty area, looking for Pirro. And he's tried to play it inside. It's blocked by the ankle of Hume. Kept in on the far side by Clark, who sweeps it out, but straight to Matt Grimes. And Grimes now bringing this forward slowly, then playing it square to Darling in the middle. And he plays it out to the left to Manning.
King,
And in front of him is Gooch. He plays it back inside to Darling.
I have
And
got
now
another
to
channel on
Cabango,
YouTube,
being
the
closed down
Singing
by Ross
Taxi
Stewart.
Driver. Check
Ahead
it out.
of him is Lati Baudier.
Singing
Comes
Taxi
back
Driver.
to
Check it out on
Cabango inside to Grimes again, and then back to Cabango.
I know
plays
it's
it up
so
to the edge of the
09's
area,
being
swept
stupid, like,
out
but it
by
is such an
Bart,
anticlimax,
straight to
isn't it?
Manning,
You look forward to
who'll
the
try a
game,
right-foot shot
game
through
all
the legs
day
of
long. You
Bart,
take your seat and it's
picked
like,
up on the
oh,
goal
for
line
God's
by
sake, like
Clark,
somebody's just pulled the
hooked
plug of
away, up
enjoyment
through the
out.
middle,
It's so
over
frustrating.
Ross Stewart, and back to Cabango and Darling.
This is where we've got to be brave. When we do win the ball, we've got to try to keep hold of it, because it'll just come straight back at us.
And this is what Tony Mowbray was saying about the possession that Swansea have in games. They do enjoy a lot of possession. They're enjoying a lot of possession now, as Fulton out wide to Lati Baudier, back again to Fulton, and back onto the halfway line to Cabango, and then Darling in the centre circle, and he then plays it out wide to Manning, and Manning back to Harry Darling. Darling short pass through to Grimes, and wide again to Manning. Still 0-0. We've nearly played half an hour. Sunderland though playing with 10 men, and Manning plays it inside to Darling. Darling now trying to find, well, I think in the end Allen's shot is saved comfortably by Patterson. There was half a shout by Swansea for foul on Lati Baudier, but he's picked himself up and jogs back towards the halfway line. Patterson has possession. One man loiters up front for Swansea. Patterson's going to kick this. Everybody jogging down in the Swansea half. The kick is poor actually, it's right through the middle, straight to Stephen Bender at the other end. Short pass from the goalkeeper out to Grimes. on
Especially
halfway,
when it's
lifting over the
11:29
top,
p.m.
looking
and
for
have to
Manning
play
on the
golf
left
for the
here.
Borough
Gooch
fans
goes to
tomorrow
close them
morning, says
down.
Stephen.
Manning
Stephen,
brings the ball down, slips it inside.
You should
to
put a karaoke
Joe
machine
Allen,
on
and
top of
Allen
the
now
taxi
blocked
and
by
sing
Ahmad.
from
It'll
it.
be a corner to
Yeah,
Swansea.
Pile-ups everywhere.
Reading 1, Queen's Park Rangers 0.
And this is where you're looking for your experienced players. Yes, they will have a lot of possession of the ball, but you've got to keep your shape. You know, you've got to be switched on.
I did sing a good song yesterday at the Mike and the Mechanics
by Ballard. It comes out
Living
only
Days.
as far
You should check it
as
out. It's quite
Grimes.
good.
His shot is low. It's blocked. It comes back out to Allen in midfield. He curls it into the penalty area again. There's a bit of shirt tugging going on Ross Stewart by Cabango, but Stewart gets the ball as it's played out wide and eventually off Latibaudiere for a throw to Sunderland. 0-0. It's Preston 0, Norwich 3.
Preston 0, Norwich 3.
As Hume picks up the ball to take this throw on the left, halfway inside the Sunderland half. A reminder, full commentary tomorrow of Sunderland women against Durham women with Colin White. That's from 11:30, and at 1 o'clock build up to the 2 o'clock kickoff.
What do you call an Egyptian taxi driver?
Fulham.
Toot and come in.
Razor and Strictly Come Dancing John Anderson.
Susan Richardson, DME. Any more of that, you're going to get banned, darling.
Back on the halfway line. Cabango, short pass forwards.
Toot and come in.
From Fulton into the middle to Grimes. Back to Cabango, another short pass forwards. And still just inside their own half, Swansea. Back to Grimes in the centre circle. Forwards again.
Yeah, he's the. I
Cabango,
think he's the lead
Fulton.
singer of Mike and the Mechanics.
Latibaudiere has made a run down the right, but it's back into the centre circle to Darling.
Yeah, check the video out on
Forwards
my
again
channel.
right to
It's a good
Forwards
song.
through to Pirot, back to Fulton, back again to Cabango. Out to the right again, Jay Fulton. Swings across him, comes up off Dan Neil, back to Patterson. He falls gratefully upon it in the 6-yard box. 31 minutes played, 10-man Sunderland 0, Swansea City 0. Their next game actually is their replay against Bristol City at Swansea on Tuesday night, and the winners of that FA Cup replay will play either Chesterfield or West Bromwich Albion at home. As Stewart, long ball played up to him at the edge of the area, felt he was being held. The referee's run away with his arms outstretched, giving Sunderland nothing. And up into the Sunderland half. Allen on the left-hand side, out wide to Manning. Manning just a couple of yards in from the touchline. Short pass inside to Allen, back out to Manning and back to Allen, inside to Grimes. Grimes forwards to Manning, and his ball through for Cooper. He's beaten to it by Danny Barton, back up to the halfway line. It bounces back to Darling on the left here. Inside to Grimes, and Grimes plays it
I think
out
a
wide
point
to
will be a
Manning,
good result
leaves
today,
to
won't it?
Allen,
If it stays like we're
back
down to
out
10 men.
Manning on the left and back in again to the left of central midfield. Grimes to Darling in the middle, and Darling short pass to Pirot, and the Dutchman just spins away from Hume, and now trying to get it onto his left foot, plays it inside in the middle to Darling again. Darling, short pass to his right to Latibaudiere, a stab at it from Clark, gets back to Darling though, and then eventually to Cabango on the right of central midfield. Leaves it again for Latibaudiere, back to Grimes, just in front of the centre circle. Closed down by Stewart, but to his right to Cabango, and right again to Fulton. He crosses now, headed away by Hume, out to Ross Stewart, trying to head it on, but there's nobody really there in support. And it's back with Swansea, all in white. Darling leaves it for Grimes, and he's been sort of instrumental in everything that Swansea are doing. Then Allen's tripped. Combination of Neil and Evans. And this free kick in the middle, about 25 yards out. So, 33 minutes played, 0-0, but Sunderland playing with 10 men. We're live on BBC Radio Newcastle.
A win with 19 men would be a good
trying
statement.
to get it organised just outside the penalty area. Keith Stroud marching back 10 yards, applies the spray a foot or so outside the penalty area in the D. Stephen Bender, the Swansea goalkeeper, just wanders about in the middle of his half. Darling, Fulton, Pirot, It's going to be Darling, isn't it? Do you think?
Yeah.
Fancies this. Harry Darling, the 23-year-old, he's left it actually for Piro's shot, and it's spilled away round the post by Patterson. Got down to it and turned it around for another Swansea corner. Sheffield United 2, Stoke 0. 35th minute, 35 minutes played now.
What's your thoughts, people, in the chats so far? Then, I mean, would you be happy with a point?
Corner, Swansea, and it's Manning again to take it. Drives us in towards the far side of the 6-yard post, and it's headed out for another corner. That looked to be headed off. Looked like Darling's header was clean.
Stoke City are doing well under Alex Neil, aren't they?
Bristol City 2, Birmingham 1. Birmingham pulling a goal back. Manning runs across to the right-hand side to take the corner.
I'd still love to be a fly in the wall and find out exactly what the hell happened there.
Clean Swansea header out, but the referee must have seen something.
Has he?
And short corner. Played eventually back to Grimes. Grimes, this left foot. Straight at Patterson.
Well done, Patterson.
Patterson bowls this out. It comes off the head of a Swansea player. It's come out to Manning. The referee is gonna. He's given a free kick. I thought for a moment he's going to take a card out, but he hasn't.
He's not having the best of games, the referee.
You can hear the reaction of the crowd. Patterson's having a word with Keith Stroud. Again, Patterson towers above him, and Patterson throws the ball down for the free kick. Evans receiving some instructions from Michael Proctor. Tony Mowbray out on the touchline as well. It's 0-0 with just under 10 minutes to go.
The referee actually looks the double of Paul Carrick from Mike and the Mechanics, to be honest with you. He's definitely fixing it for them so far, isn't he?
Sunderland a man down. O'Nien sent off. Darling. Oh, he's hauled down by an angry Gooch. There are words being exchanged between Gooch and Darling, but quickly taken free kick from Swansea. Grimes now leaving it for Cabango over the halfway line. He's got Latibaudiere to his right. It gets to the Jamaican. One cap this year for Latibaudiere. Allen now in the middle for Swansea. Back out to the right to Latibaudiere, who taps it back behind into Cabango. Cabango down to Latibaudiere on the right again. Closed down and blocked by Clark, the attempted cross. Another block made by Corey Evans this time. And now...
Was it definitely a penalty for Diallo beforehand?
Swansea, all in white. Short pass to Fulton, back again to Cabango, then to Darling. Darling on the left to central midfield, out to Allen on the left. He pushes forwards, Manning's out wide, and here's Manning.
Would VAR actually had that as a penalty?
Trying to play it along the 18-yard line.
That's why this league needs it in, doesn't it?
Manning, and it's crashed off Evans. Now, as you said, handball there.
Oh, we'll be in the Premier League by then, it doesn't matter.
Free kick to Swansea on the left. Smashed into Evans. It caught him. He's trying to say on his elbow.
Alex Neil's situation at Stoke, he didn't excel by relying on loans and 20th place. How was that for off the pitch? Factors leaving, says Kennedy.
To Swansea.
Says Richardson, with 10 men, a draw would be happy.
They've got to get to half-time 0-0.
Nah, I still think we will win it for FTM. I'm up for that.
Fulton's joined Manning here on the left-hand side. Ahmad's a one-man wall. Patterson's pacing about in his 6-yard box. Fulton's jogged back into the penalty area, and Manning then right arm raised briefly with his left, swings this in. It's headed down and away by Ballard, only to the edge of the area. Allen's going to try and put it back down in on that right hand side, but in goes Stewart to try and win it back. Then a great tackle and a push by Allen over on the far side, which leads to a free kick for Sunderland.
I can see a Swansea player getting sent off, you know, I just can.
Much booing and unhappiness around the stadium at referee Keith Stroud and at Swansea, but it's 0-0 and we're heading towards half-time, and Sunderland playing with 10 men, 5 minutes until the break, plus whatever time Keith Stroud adds on. Luke O'Nien sent off in the 18th minute. kick up onto the chest of Joe Allen, into the centre circle, trying to get out here is Gooch, but it's come back now on the left-hand side and played inside by Manning to Allen on halfway, and it's cut out by Stewart. Couldn't get enough control of it, and Cabango managed to get a foot to it and put it out for a throw here on the right-hand side to Sunderland, which is left by Ahmad for Lyndon
90
Gooch.
people, 94 on the chat now.
Halfway inside
hit
the
that like
Swansea
button,
half.
thank you. And any new people tuning in, support me channel and click the subscribe
Luton
button.
2, West Bromwich Albion 1. Allen puts it out again.
Can
Another
we
throw
get
to
30 likes before
Sunderland
half-time,
on
perhaps?
this
5 minutes to
right-hand
do so.
side. Gooch again. He's got Ahmad, he's got Stewart further forwards. It drops to Ahmad, back to Gooch, taps it on to Ahmad. He tried to spin round Manning, but he knew what he was doing. Manning puts it out. Another throw to Sunderland. Gooch again down this right-hand side to Stewart, back to Gooch wide here and into the middle, looking for Dan Neil, trying to get it into the penalty area, but Grimes beats him to it. Gets it back to the goalkeeper, Bender, who gets it up to the edge of the centre circle. Pirro heads it down to Joe Allen behind him, and then across to Latibeaudiere, who's stretched and given the ball away to Clark. Clark running at Cabango at the corner of the penalty area, goes into the penalty area, still going towards the goal line, pulls it back, and Stewart was trying to turn it in, and the referee's given a goal kick as the appeals for a corner. Stewart just trying to spin on the ball at the near post, but it was blocked. Looked like it had come off a Swansea defender, but it's a goal kick. And 0-0 still, 4 minutes or so till half time. Grimes again.
They're pretty poor, Swansea. I don't want to tempt fate, but
brings it up through
they are
the
like
middle here, lays it off to Darling into the centre circle on the centre spot, then forwards a couple of yards and passes it on now on that right-hand side to Fulton and out
the
to
debate whether that was a
Latibeaudiere,
corner or
taking
goal
on
kick, but the
Hume,
replays are not showing
drives the
any,
ball around the back under pressure from Clark, and it's a goal kick.
For God's sake, Susan.
0-0
What do you
still
call
3
a
minutes
starving alien?
of the 45 left.
Knee tea. You call a starving alien knee tea?
1, Southampton 0 in that massive game at Goodison Park for both teams.
Oh my God, Susan.
And Everton have got their noses in front. Patterson then with this goal kick for Sunderland from the right side of his 6-yard box over the halfway line. It goes up, goes Stewart, wins the header, drops for Allen, heads it on to Gooch, who heads it back into the path of Grimes, now to Manning, back behind him to Darling. Stewart almost whipped it off him, but he plays it across
Everton's
to Cabango,
taken the
who's
lead
bringing
against
this out now
Southampton,
for
so Everton's
Swansea
jumped
City.
out right
The
into
fourth official,
14th
Robert
place
Madden,
now.
at the edge of the pitch will get the time to be added on in a minute or so.
Everton have taken the lead against Southampton, and Everton's
Grimes out
up to 14th now.
Back to Grimes. And Grimes into Darling in the middle of the Sunderland half.
Everton will never go down.
Neil, but he plays out wide again.
I don't know what the fans are panicking
Jamaicans
for. They
there
won't
to
go
play
down.
it back to Fulton. And Fulton forwards and sideways to Grimes, looking at the edge of the penalty area for it to be played through to Manning, back into the back of the 6-yard box. It's teed up for Pirro, but a block by Clark, I think, in the way of it, and it was only 6 yards out, and the ball breaks out into midfield again for Darling and across to
101
Cabango.
on the channel. Thank you very much for
Swansea.
watching,
Good
folks.
block.
Thank you.
And now
Thank you for
Swansea
tuning
build
in.
again, patiently, down the right of midfield. Fulton inside to Cooper, back to Fulton.
28-5.
Fulton
says Doug.
inside again to Grimes. Grimes
Thanks for the
closed down by
subscription
Evans,
there,
back to
John.
Fulton.
Thank you.
Out to Latibeaudiere, back to Fulton. And they just pass it between themselves, happy just to patiently try and find a way through here. And Grimes just plays it back behind it to Cabango on the shoulder of Stewart. Forwards again to Latibeaudiere. He turns inside, plays it into the centre and
So
across
pleased,
to
I
Allen
can't
now
hear
on the
what
left-hand
Jacob's
side.
saying. Like, I bet
And
he's
Allen
mentioned
down the left.
I bet
Manning
he's
will have to
mentioned
chase
the
this. It'll
Preston
run away
manager,
from
has he?
behind for a goal.
I can't hear him. He's blocked him.
Well done. Good pressure. But it's a good move by Swansea. You would think
They're
should have
confident
scored.
on the ball,
they
aren't they?
should have scored.
Yeah.
I think they overplayed, didn't they?
It was an opportunity.
Try to walk it in.
And Pirro shot blocked from 6 yards. In that last minute now, 30 seconds left of the 45. Goalless.
Some of the fans are saying we should get rid of 09. He's a liability.
Luke O'Nien. The kick from Patterson up over the halfway line. Won again by the head of Stewart. Out to Gooch on this right-hand side. Inside to Ahmad. Back he plays it to Ballard on this right-hand side. Forwards again to Ahmad. On halfway. Wide. He's trying to get away from Allen. Then swings it across on the far side to Hume. Hume bringing it out wider again to Clark on the left, just inside the Swansea half. 2 minutes being added on. We're into those 2 minutes now. It's back to Danny Bart, across to Ballard. And Ballard now here with Gooch calling for it on the right in front of Tony Mowbray. Forwards to Ahmad, pushing the back from Ahmad, from Manning on Ahmad. Now he's being pulled all over the place on this near side by Cullen. Right in front of Russell Martin. Reading 2, Queen's Park Rangers 0. A free kick to Sunderland. Just inside the Swansea half, minute and a half left. Gooch is going to take this. Hume left in the centre circle. Again, Swansea holding a line halfway inside their half. And Gooch swings it up in through the middle. Drops in the penalty area here. And Bart is going to lay the ball off on the left-hand side. Clark back to the edge of the area. An offside flag comes up.
Good job.
Ballard had thrown himself at it, trying to head it, but the flag was up. Less than a minute now, 45 seconds or so left of the first half. As you say, Sunderland be just glad to get in at the break. Goalless. Reorganised.
Is it crispy, greedy little
Darling
gets?
bring the ball out here, up to halfway. Ahmad chases,
Send
trying
the
to win the
boy-
ball
give the
back.
boys a
Cabango plays it forwards to Fulton and then to
I'm
Latibodiere.
happy.
Back to Fulton. 30 seconds of the first half left. The ball on halfway still, wide on the right, inside to Grimes, back out and back to Grimes, back to Fulton, back to Grimes. This familiar pattern that Swansea have of just playing it between themselves and gradually working forwards. It's still on halfway. Cabango to Fulton. We've got 10 seconds left. And back again to Matt Grimes. Quick look at the watch by Keith Stroud. Now looking for Manning's run into the penalty area, headed away by Gooch. And that, according to my watch, is the 2 minutes. And out on the left here as the whistle blown. Boos for referee Keith Stroud at half-time. It's goalless. Sunderland get in at the break without conceding.
The referee. It was a
Swansea have had the better chances. They've got the man extra though, and it all.
I'm just not happy. I give the boys a 5 for each to get some snacks from the shop. Not even give us a crisp.
Yeah, you look at it, and you know the first incident was the Ahmed. Was it a foul or not in the penalty box? He played on. And you've got to say, it was
Daniel
a
Joel,
rash challenge by Luke O'Nien, but I don't think it deserved a red card. If anything, a yellow. I think because of all the fracas, what went on,
yeah, of course it is.
That's what gave him a little bit more time, and then he most probably thought,
we are getting decent players in, yeah. I
Deserves
agree,
the red.
Dan.
Well, you can hear the reaction for the referee as he's walking off with his 2 assistants either side of him. That was, I assume it was for him and not Anthony Patterson, as he walked off with them. But look, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, from what we saw of the challenge, it was. It was a rash challenge. But
the players, you know, Swansea City players have come storming in. And
be right back, lads. The cat's just pissed on the carpet.
Then 1 or 2 more players got involved, and then it looked quite messy in the end.
Yeah, it got very, very feisty. A couple of groups of players getting involved, and the goalkeepers as well. Finally broken up, and that red card was shown by Keith Stroud for Luke O'Nien. Patrick Roberts was the player sacrificed. Danny Bart came on. They're playing 3 at the back, and that's how they've ended the first half. Whether they make any more changes at half-time, we'll have to wait and see. The second half to come, of course, on BBC Radio Newcastle and safc.com. At the break, it is Sunderland 0, playing with 10 men, of course, Swansea City 0.
Total Sport.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Goalless then at the Stadium of Light. Sunderland 0, Swansea 0. Back with Nick Barnes and Gary Bennett for full commentary of the second half shortly. In the rest of the day's games then, we'll start in the Premier League. The early kickoff was the Manchester derby, and Manchester United came back to win it, having been a goal down with 12 minutes to go. Jack Grealish had given Manchester City the lead on the hour mark, but Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford scoring Manchester United's goals. A somewhat controversial equaliser because Marcus Rashford was not flagged offside, even though he was quite blatantly interfering with play. But the goal stood, and that then gave Manchester United the platform to go and score the winner. Only one goal in the 4 3 o'clock kickoffs in the Premier League. Everton lead Southampton. Amadou Onana with his first goal for the club. But it's goalless between Brighton and Liverpool, Nottingham Forest and Leicester, and between Wolves and West Ham United. The 5:30 kickoff in the Premier League is Brentford against Bournemouth.
Get the latest team news, score updates and post-match reaction on Twitter at BBC Newcastle.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Into the Championship then, as well as Sunderland drawing 0-0 at home to Swansea. The early kickoff saw Rotherham thrash Blackburn by 4 goals to 0. They scored after 33 seconds, and they scored in the very last minute as well, Rotherham, to bookend a terrific performance from them. Half-time in the 3 o'clock kickoffs then, Bristol City 2-1 up on Birmingham. A Troy Deeney penalty for Birmingham, getting one back after Antoine Semenyo, former Sunderland striker, and Naki Wells had given Bristol City a 2-0 lead. Burnley 0, Coventry 0, and Cardiff City 0, Wigan Athletic 0. Huddersfield lead at Hull thanks to Michal Hillick midway through the first half. Luton Town are 2-1 up on West Brom at half-time. Carlton Morris and Elijah Adebayo had them 2-0 up inside 10 minutes. Daryl Dike getting one back for West Brom just before half-time. Middlesbrough drawing 0-0 at home to Millwall. Norwich City, though, 3-0 up away at Preston North End. Timu Pukki with the first one, Kieran Dowell with the second and third goals. Jeff Hendrick, on loan from Newcastle United, has scored twice. Reading lead Queen's Park Rangers by 2-0. Sheffield United lead Stoke City by the same scoreline at half-time. Iliman Sheikh Ndiaye and Jayden Bogle with their goals, and it's goalless in the final game in the Championship between Watford and Blackpool.
Total Sport.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Into League One then, and it's goalless between Accrington Stanley and Bristol Rovers at half-time. Dion Charles has given Bolton a 1-0 lead over Portsmouth. Shrewsbury are a couple up away at Burton Albion. Cambridge United against Morecambe was postponed because of damage to Cambridge United Stadium in the wind yesterday. Charlton lead Barnsley by 1-0. Derby are 2-1 up away at Cheltenham. Those 3 goals in that game coming in the first 11 minutes. Exeter City 0, Forest Green Rovers 0. Fleetwood 1-0 up on Oxford United. No goals in either of the games between Ipswich and Plymouth or between MK Dons and Lincoln City, but Will Vaulks has given Sheffield Wednesday a 1-0 lead at Wycombe Wanderers. In League 2, at goalless AFC Wimbledon and Bradford, and Carlisle United's game at home to Newport County. Crawley against Doncaster was postponed because of the rain. Gillingham lead Hartlepool by a 1-0. Carlisle United have actually just scored in the second minute of first half injury time, so Christian Dennis has given them a 1-0 lead at home to Newport County. No goals in Harrogate's game at home to Stevenage or in Barrow's game away at Leyton Orient. Mansfield lead Crewe Alexandra 1-0. It's Rochdale 1, Colchester United 1. Conor McElhenney has scored twice. Salford City leads Sutton United 2-0. Stockport County are 1-0 up on Northampton. It's Swindon 1, Grimsby Town 0. Grimsby down to 10 men. It was Charlie Austin, former Premier League striker, who scored Swindon's goal. And the final game in League 2 is goalless as well. Tranmere Rovers 0, Walsall 0.
The Newcastle United and Sunderland AFC podcast.
Subscribe on BBC Sounds.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Into non-league then, Gateshead had the lead at Oldham in their FA Trophy game thanks to Camille Conte after 13 minutes. Oldham then equalised and it is 1 apiece at half-time. Similar story for Blythe Spartans in National League North. They took the lead away at Scarborough thanks to Nicky Deveritz after just 11 minutes. Scarborough have since equalised. That is 1-1 at the break. In the NPL Premier Division, South Shields are drawing 0-0 at Guiseley, and our non-league reporter Paul Dixon in the same division is watching Morpeth take on Gainsborough Trinity and can tell us how the first 45 minutes have gone. Paul.
Well, the first 45 minutes went absolutely brilliant for Morpeth. It's Morpeth 2, Gainsborough Trinity 0. They've been like a top of the league team, Morpeth, in the first half, being absolutely brilliant. And it was Andrew Johnson who deservedly put Morpeth ahead on 17 minutes from the edge of the box. Johnson's first shot was blocked, and then Johnson, following up, drilled the ball low into the corner of the net to give Morpeth the lead. And then Connor Panny, 2 minutes later, from 30 yards, brilliant shot that just went past the post. And then Morpeth went 2 up on 27 minutes. Across to the back post by Andrew Johnson, who's had a very good first half, found Ben Ramsey, who superbly curled a right foot shot high into the corner of the net. Brilliant goal from the youngster.
Do you want us to read some social media comments?
In the second half, being absolutely brilliant in the first half. Half-time score, Morpeth 2, Gainsborough Trinity 0.
Oh, thank you very much indeed. Gainsborough Trinity third in the table at the start of play today. Morpeth having not won since the middle of October. It would be a terrific victory if they hang on in the second half. In the East Division, Consett drawing 1-0 at home to Pontefract Collieries at half-time. Spencer Clark with Concett's goal. Hebburn are 2-0 up on Stockton. Amar Purawal after 7 minutes. Joe Walton after 17. Dunstan lead at Ossett United through Carl Finnegan. North Shields game at Tadcaster Albion postponed this morning because of a waterlogged pitch. And our last team standing in the FA Vase have got a bit of work to do in the second half. Horden are 1-0 down away at West Didsbury and Charlton. A penalty after half an hour deciding that 1-0 half-time scoreline. Our local football roundup, though, will go through all of those games and get some reaction at 5:45.
This happened during the last call period.
A shocking story of a starving mum who collapsed from exhaustion after walking 2 miles to reach a food bank with 2 young children.
Matt Bailey at breakfast.
Mum clearly was at the end of a tether. The children were taken to get some breakfast. When they left, the mum became really distressed, collapsed down into the chair, into my arms. Both her and her husband were in employment. They'd reached the end where their outgoings were greater than their income. When I joined here 2 years ago, 8% of the people that came to us for support were in employment. As I say, we're getting upwards towards 36%. We are driven by an absolute compassion to make a difference in the community. That's what we get out of bed for.
The sound of the North East at breakfast. BBC Radio Newcastle, making a difference in the North East.
Ruined by the worst
Swansea 0 at half-time. That was Nick Barnes and Gary Bennett for commentary at the second half in just over 5 minutes' time. Newcastle United are at home to Fulham in the Premier League tomorrow. That will be 4th against 6th after Manchester United's victory earlier on today. Newcastle dropping to 4th, but still 4th against 6th. It's a 2 o'clock kick-off tomorrow, live here on BBC Radio Newcastle. The build-up with Matthew Raisbeck and John Anderson begins at 1 o'clock. Dan Burn scored the first goal of his Newcastle career in Tuesday's League Cup quarter-final win over Leicester City.
I get quite a lot of stick for not scoring enough goals. I missed a sit-out with a header and stuff as well, but yeah, no one can sort of take that away from us now. I think it's what you dream of when you're a kid, being a Newcastle fan, scoring in front of the Gallagher. So to do that in a pretty important game, I like trying to get forward and stuff, and took a good touch and took a swing at it and it's gone in, but it was just a bit of a blur after that. I was just sprinting and finally ran out of pitch, so I had to do something, so just took the knee slide in. But it's good because all my family sit in that box and stuff as well, so for it to be that side and stuff, I'm just buzzing.
Is working on your attacking play personally from left full back something you've been doing consciously with Eddie Howe, given your role in the back four?
I think so. I think we do get a lot of joy going down the right with Trips and Miggy. They have a sort of good relationship, and been trying to build that a bit more. On the left, we've got different patterns that we like to use, and I think it's just that relationship. The longer you play with someone, you understand more the runs that they're going to make. Sometimes when Joey will come short and then he'll spin in behind, and I think it just takes time to sort of build that. But yeah, I enjoy it. I enjoy getting up and down the pitch. Obviously want to try and add to my game that way with assistance.
You've talked about how your life has changed in the last year since coming to Newcastle. You moved to Fulham at the start of your career, changed your football life, didn't it? And coming up against them at the weekend, you have fond memories, don't you, of your time in London? Yeah,
I loved it there, especially at the start. So it was a dream come true to get a Premier League move at the age that I was, and it was yeah, it was just crazy being around sort of Premier League players when I'd been playing the conference and stuff. So yeah, I still know a few people there that have been sort of sharing messages and stuff, so it'll be nice to see people.
It will indeed for Dan Byrne, and he was speaking to Matthew Raisbeck there, a Newcastle United commentator. So yeah, that is a 2 o'clock kick-off tomorrow. Build-up starts at 1 o'clock with Razor and Ando. Kicking off at 1 o'clock tomorrow is Newcastle Falcons European Challenge Cup game in Wales against Cardiff. Head coach Dave Walder's been previewing the game with the BBC's Dawn Thewlis. Her first question was whether the Falcons were hopefully going to be able to field a slightly stronger team this weekend than they'd been able to do in previous European encounters.
Yeah, I think looking at it, I think we knew there was a seven game block and it was going to be a long stretch, and so we made a couple of selection decisions at the start of the block which were with the Premiership in mind, and now we've got 2 games to go before a slight break, so hopefully we'll be able to go a little bit stronger.
And is that also down to the players that you've got back fit again? Yeah, absolutely. You know, our squad was we're getting a couple of boys back from injury. Our squad was a little bit thin on the ground at the start of December in certain positions, so it was a case of managing people's loads and making sure we got through this Premiership block. The Premiership's our bread and butter, so it was about getting through this block as successfully as possible, and then seeing where we were at after the game at the weekend, and so hopefully giving a good account of ourselves over the next 2 weeks. Because traditionally the European Challenge Cup has been a competition where a lot of younger players have kind of got their first experience of Europe, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's about getting the balance right. I think especially this year with a couple of teams dropping out of the Premiership, there's been a couple less games for people, so everybody in your squad wants to play. At the start of the season we thought those games were going to be there, so our squad was the size it was accordingly. Suddenly you take those 2 games out of it and the knock-on effect is people aren't getting quite as much game time, so it's about managing the squad and keeping everyone happy, but also giving people an opportunity, and we're really excited about going down to Cardiff on Sunday, playing against what will ultimately be an international team in terms of the quality of player, but a team we're confident we can challenge in the right areas and hopefully, get our attitude right and see what happens.
That is Dave Warder, the Newcastle Falcons head coach, talking to Dawn Thewlis. So it's a 1 o'clock kickoff in Cardiff tomorrow. Live commentary from Ian Smith and Dean Gray on the BBC Sport website and the BBC Sport app. The third commentary that we're going to mention is actually the first one chronologically on BBC Radio Newcastle tomorrow, because from 11 o'clock the focus is on the Hetton Centre. Sunderland and Durham doing battle in the Women's Championships, an 11:30 kickoff tomorrow morning. We had a player from both sides on Total Sport during the week. First up, the Durham captain Sarah Wilson talking to Simon Price.
It's been a difficult start to the season, and we're not sitting in the position where we would like to be sitting, and it's something that's a little bit alien to us, but no, we're really excited for Sunday. It's a massive game for both teams.
And I guess it's pretty tricky when you haven't played very much recently. You've only played, once in the last month or so. So I don't know if it's been useful to have a kind of a mini pre-season in the middle of the campaign. I don't know if that meant you could enjoy Christmas a bit more than you otherwise would have done.
It kind of does and it doesn't. I mean, we got such a fantastic result before the Christmas break, and I guess the break come at the worst time for us, really, because we're really starting to build up a little bit of momentum. But it was good to have the FA Cup game nice and early, coming back after the break, being able to get that result on the board. That was really important.
That's the Durham captain, Sarah Wilson. I've got my timing slightly wrong, so if you want to listen to Grace McCarthy, the Sunderland centre-half, you are going to have to listen back to Total Sport on BBC Sounds. That was Thursday evening, right about 7:30. You want to hear what she had to say. We will also hear from her in the build-up tomorrow as well. An 11:30 kick-off tomorrow morning. Myself and Helen Hardy will be there from 11 o'clock on DAB Digital Radio and Freeview Channel 719. But across all frequencies now, we're back to the Stadium of Light. Sunderland 0, Swansea 0 at half-time. Nick Barnes and Gary Bennett are back in just a tick.
The sound of Sunderland.
Richardson's free kick. Oh, yes! Richardson! Just torpedo past Given. And Sunderland take the lead. Pritchard still going in the edge of the penalty area. Yeah! A goal! Goal! Get in! The red and white army stand, applaud.
Great sport kicks off here.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Welcome back to the Stadium of Light. A lot of talk at half-time, understandably, about the red card. I think the general perception seems to be that it was a yellow. I'm told that the presenters on Sky Sport also feel it was a yellow, not a red. Rash, yes, but not red. So be it. There's nothing you can do now to alter the fact that Sunderland having to play with 10 men as
honestly,
Swansea head out.
a draw would feel like a win today.
Blues are for them, because I think there's a feeling that some of their players were complicit in getting 09 sent off.
Yeah, they played a part, didn't they?
Sunderland game this morning.
Yes, it was a rash tackle. But straight away, we've seen that the referee was surrounded by Swansea's players. Wanted him sent off.
Yeah,
that's what they wanted.
They did, and there were. I think a yellow card was shown. I'm not sure who to, but there probably arguably should have been more. Cabango got the yellow.
For the subscribers,
but there was 2 or 3 players that could have been shown a yellow by Keith Stroud, but they weren't, and so Sunderland just have to deal with that, and now see if they can respond in the second half, and they will be the team that gets the second half underway, and they're attacking the north end of the stadium in this second 45 in their red and white stripes.
Just BBC Radio Newcastle,
all
Jordan.
in white as Keith Stroud blows were underway. The ball back to
tell Jacob to stop covering my channel, asking who the press manager is,
down
please.
The left hand side looking for Ross Stewart, and it will be allowed to run behind.
He's blocked
for
on your channel because he keeps going on about it.
That player Ben Cabango, who we've just been talking about, having been shown the yellow card.
No, I've blocked him up, so I can't talk to him.
dismissal in the 18th minute. No changes then to either side at half-time, but Sunderland made a change when O'Nien was sent off.
Yeah,
Danny
but I
Bart
don't know who the Preston
Patrick
manager
Roberts,
is. I keep
and they've
asking
gone
him.
to a three
He
at the
doesn't tell us.
back with Hume, Bart and Ballard being the three, and Gooch switched over to the right side, and Clark is the left side.
Reckon we're signing
wing-back.
Sims.
It's the ball in the middle. It's just knocked down by Evans, but one back
Whoops,
here by
Chapel.
Swansea, by Allen, Joe Allen trying to get away down the right wing. Leaves it for Latibaudiere, Fulton, and now Ollie Cooper rolling it to Matt Grimes, who saw a lot of the ball in the first half, down to Manning at the left side of the penalty area. And Gooch can't stop it going well. It looked to me like it's gone out, but it's gone out for a throw in the end on the far side. Gooch keeping it in, saving the
No, I've got
corner
my own.
kick.
I've got my own channel, and I just keep pressing
Here,
the mute button when I'm speaking
Swansea,
to people.
Grimes stretching for it, but he now finally wins it
to my
from Ahmad.
Oh, sorry,
Just plays it behind him. It's crossed by Allen straight into the arms of Anthony Patterson, who bowls it out on this left-hand side to Jack Clark. Clark away down the left, over the halfway lines, looking for options in the middle. Clark still going. He's got Dan Neal just inside of him. He's swept the ball back down to Clark, but Cabango's got across the face of him and lets the ball run behind for a goal kick. Much to the frustration of Dan Neal, it's rolled out to Harry Darling for Swansea.
Brighton
Bender
1,
goal
Liverpool
for Swansea.
0.
Latibaudiere, Cabango, Darling and Manning is their back four. Allen and Grimes.
Everton 1, Southampton 1.
Cooper and
Southampton's
Cullen,
just equalised.
the forward players.
And Wolves
Here's Pirro,
1.
the Dutchman, out to Latibaudiere
West
at the corner
Ham
of the
0.
Sunderland penalty area. Pirro's beaten to it by Bart. Comes out to Grimes though, trying to get it through. Cooper at the edge of the area, out to Manning on the
Everton
left
now
in the
are back
box.
to
Drives it across the face
fourth
of
off button.
Anthony Patterson and behind for a goal kick.
West Ham a second off button. Oof.
To Sunderland away to our right. 8th versus 15th, but only 3 points between the two at the start of play this afternoon. Patterson's retrieved the ball.
Took the lead against.
He's waiting, he's urging, waving everybody forwards. And comes forwards now himself to take the kick.
That's a poor kick.
It's drifted through the middle. Stewart's trying to get on the end of it. He has eventually. Pulls it back here to Clark on the left-hand side. Clark rolling it inside now to Neal. Neal trying to find Stewart. Back to Dan Neal. Down it goes. No penalty, says the referee. Neal thought he was clipped. Gets back up on his feet and he's resuming his debate with the referee.
I'll have to
But
see
Keith
it.
Stroud's not given him the penalty. And here's Fulton on the right, inside to Allen. Stewart tries to get the ball back off the Welsh international, but it's come back into the centre to Grimes. Leaves it for Cabango on the right-hand side. Now Fulton again, just inside the Sunderland half. Back to Cabango, into the middle to Darling. Michael Proctor in the ear of the fourth official, Robert Madden. In the centre circle, Darling now to Cabango. Into the Sunderland half on this right-hand side. Goalless at the start of the second half, nearly 3.5 minutes in. The ball played to Allen on the right-hand side here. Pushing forwards, Allen still going. A block by Clark inside the penalty area. The ball comes back out now to Grimes, now to the right to Latibaudiere, back to Grimes. He swings a ball into the box, looking for the run of Manning, I think, and it drops to Pirro, and he easily puts it home. Where was the offside? It looked like offside to me, and that's what they're all appealing for, but the referee's given the goal. They seem to be a mile off. Pirro seemed to be standing a mile offside,
He's really good
but
for Sunderland,
the goal has been given. I'm perplexed by that. To my mind, Swansea were offside, but Pirro, standing virtually on the goal line, has volleyed it home, and Swansea have the lead. The ball was pulled back from the left.
Yeah, from Manning. I've got to say it was a fantastic pullback by Manning. Somehow he stretched his leg and got it back, but as you just mentioned there, Pirlo was standing all on his own. Maybe because the ball was pulled back, he's not in an offside position. But it would be interesting to see if Manning was in in an offside position when the ball was delivered in.
Well, I think there are question marks about that. The goal has been given.
Doesn't matter if it's question marks, the decision's been made, isn't it?
And everybody's instant reaction around about us in the stadium was that it was offside. But the goal stands. Swansea lead by a goal to nil then. Pirro with his 9th championship goal of the season. Free kick now to Sunderland on the far side, playing with 10 men, of course. This wide on the right, 10, 12 yards inside the Swansea half. From Gooch, headed down to Clark.
Offside, we've scored, says Tom.
Darling goes down and the referee gives a free kick.
Yeah, they're going to be in no rush now, Swansea.
Certainly not. 1-0 up, one man up. And referee Keith Stroud certainly under the spotlight.
I would just be in bitter Sunderland fans though.
Here now, Grimes again, and he's. I can't fathom how many touches he must have had on the ball and how much possession he's had today. Plays it to Fulton to his right. Fulton has got Latibaudiere ahead of him. Back inside to Grimes. Grimes now right side of central midfield to Fulton. Fulton out to Latibaudiere, back to Matt Grimes again
now,
on this
right-hand
side. Through the middle now to Cooper. Cooper trying to get away from Evans, and out on the left on a little bit of space is Manning. He's got Allen making a run in. Manning pulls the ball back for Grimes. Low shot blocked on the penalty spot by Danny Bart. Brought out by Hume, who's surely tripped up by Pirro, who's going to be shown a yellow card. Wolves 1, West Ham 0. It's the first cheer that Keith Stroud's actually got this afternoon. And that's for the booking of the Dutchman. Brighton 1, Liverpool 0. Here at the Stadium of Light, Sunderland 0 with 10 men, Swansea City 1. And it's now Everton 1, Southampton 1 in the Premier League. Patterson then with this free kick in the middle of the Sunderland half.
Thank Luke 9 for this. He was the hero last week, he was the villain this week, isn't he?
Swansea goalkeeper. And here on the right, Ahmad trying to get it through to Stuart Hill, back heel into the path of Dan Neil on his left-hand side now. And now on the left-hand side, it's whipped off his feet, but a foul on Neil. And a free kick. So this wide on the left of central midfield, about 25 yards out. Swansea holding their line on the 18-yard line. Clark.
Well, if they're winning games, they're winning games.
And the referee having a word with
setting up a 92nd
Ollie Cooper, but Ollie Cooper's just shuffled away from where the spray was applied. He's still technically behind the line, 10 yards back. Clark swings in the free kick, is headed backwards towards Ross Stewart, by a defender, but the flag's up. Stewart presumably creeping offside. Bristol City 3, Birmingham 1. So goal kick to Swansea. Of course, we've got no replays here. We haven't got the benefit of watching any replay to see that goal again, and the question mark over whether it was on or offside. My instinct was it was offside, but the goal's been given, and it's 1-0 to Swansea. Ballard nodding a ball back.
It's just one of these games
Anthony
where
Patterson.
the game was done
and the reaction
and
as well of the
dusted,
Sunderland
and whatever
players,
the
they all
sending off was,
ran straight to the referee. Middlesbrough 1, Millwall 0. Kick from Patterson. Hangs in the air a moment, up towards Stewart. He looked to have arms all around him, but the referee gives nothing. Fulton pulls the ball back to Latibaudiere, then Cabango, and into the middle again to Matt Grimes. Grimes here to the right again to
what the hell's going on with Liverpool, like?
Back into the centre to Harry Darling, just behind the centre circle, with 10 minutes played of the second half. And forwards to Fulton again in the Sunderland half. Back on halfway, Cabango. Back again, Darling, and Stewart crashes into him. Free kick to Swansea.
My worry is that frustration is starting to kick in a little bit, Nick. You know, this is where you've just got to keep your heads, really.
Brighton 2, Liverpool 0.
And referee doesn't help.
No. Grimes on halfway again, back to Darling, behind him a few yards. Centre circle here, Cabango bringing it forwards and then to the right to Fulton, out wide to Latibaudiere, back again to Cabango on the halfway line, and he will play it across wide on the left to Manning.
Cheers for the subscriber.
Get it back to Allen, who flicks it forwards now, looking for Cullen. It comes inside again to Manning, and he lays it off behind him, and it's laid off to Fulton again, right side of midfield, back into the middle to Grimes, and Grimes back into the path of Darling, who comes forwards for Swansea, and up to the corner of the penalty area. The ball rolled down the left for Cooper to chase with Ballard. Cooper got there first but loses it. Ahmad's got it inside, it's played to Gooch, and he's given away to Cullen.
You've got to be brave.
And at the edge of the penalty area, just pass
we
back,
haven't given ourselves a chance
Fulton
today, which is a shame. Some of the supporters are saying
Neil, I think, and eventually it comes across here on the right and turned forwards by Darling, who gets it back again from Latibaudiere, then plays it into the middle to Grimes. Grimes in the centre circle, looking for Manning again, wide on the left. Cullen ahead of him. Cullen a chase with Ballard. Ballard beats him to it. Plays it up to Ahmad now, who couldn't quite control it, and knocks it out for a throw to Swansea.
If Sunderland were on fire, they'd pour petrol out of themselves sometimes to try and put it out.
Nil, Swansea City 1. Grimes. Back to Darling. Tony Mowbray and Mike Dodds in
That's all you're going to hear though full time, isn't
edge
it?
of the technical area.
The referees.
Back up comes to Darling here, and
he hasn't really, has he?
Fulton here, sorry, with Darling just behind him. He plays it forwards though in the middle to Grimes again.
I think they're looking at maybe making a substitution in regards of maybe bringing Bennett on. He's got a little bit of pace, just give you a different outlook.
Nottingham Forest 1, Leicester 0. It's tapped back by Darling to Stephen Bender. Closed down. The keeper, he's all in purple, out. He plays it to Grimes, who gets it back again from Latibaudiere. Grimes at the edge of the centre circle.
I'll tell you what, this is proper mid-table form from Sunderland, isn't it?
We'll have to gamble. We'll have to gamble somewhere.
Take risks,
some point,
won't they?
Yeah.
Fulton. Back to Grimes in the middle of the Sunderland half, wide again on the left to Manning. Manning back to Grimes. He's been at the centre of everything, Matt Grimes, for Swansea. Here's Fulton. Fulton out
it's
again,
definitely
wide
mid-table form from Sunderland, isn't it?
Manning swings the ball in towards Pirot. He flicks it through, looking for Allen. Allen's going to pull this back. It's turned behind, unsaved, and going out for a corner, was it? Yes, it's headed out by Evans as a throw.
Yeah, we're not consistent at losing, we're not consistent at winning, but this is just ideal mid-table sort of
Allen
stuff.
Again.
Swansea dominate possession, 70%
trying to get forwards down the left. Manning wins it. Now cutting across the back of the penalty area. He tries a shot himself, it's floated over the top. Sailing over from Ryan Manning. Goal kick to Sunderland, who trail 1-0 as we approach the hour mark. And the ball placed for the goal kick by Anthony Patterson. The players drift towards this near side. Carlisle United 2, Newport 0. As the ball over halfway onto the chest of Joe Allen. Plays it up over the top looking for Pirot, but won back by Ballard. Back to Patterson.
Sheffield Wednesday are one up in Division 1. They're second at the minute.
Down to Matt Grimes by Manning. Back to
they're looking good
Darling,
for a return to the Championship.
Stephen Bender just outside his penalty area, finding Cabango just, and now Grimes laying it off to Darling. Forwards past Gooch to Joe Allen. Allen to Fulton in the centre circle, trying to pass it through, but it wasn't read by Cullen. It was though by Ballard, and he's run onto it and out wide. He's played it in to Gooch. Inside now to Evans, who plays it across to Clark on this left-hand side.
Do you think now we're just going to use
Clark
the referee as a scapegoat for Sunderland losing
Bart,
today, or do you think it should be a
Ballard,
mixture of both? Like
Ballard out wide again to Gooch.
Stupid,
and Gooch
and getting the play sent off where
just inside his own half, still inside to Dan Neil, and Dan Neil now out to Ahmad. Evans is just behind him and now parallel with him, and Ahmad back into his own half, wide on that right-hand side, plays it just a couple of feet behind him to Gooch, and Gooch back to Anthony Patterson. Plays it out to Danny Bart. Pirot gives chase. Bart bringing this out still going up to the halfway line to Stewart. Flicked off Grimes, picked up by Cooper. Back to Cabango. Left for Matt Grimes again in the centre circle. Now Jay Fulton.
Just want to get a second this game away.
And Grimes in the centre circle, laying it off to Darling. Darling plays it back in the centre circle to Cabango, forwards to Fulton. Fulton then again to Grimes. It's given away though. Hume tripped by Latibaudiere, who's going to be booked.
She's going to be doing a duet with me singing later.
Keith Stroud. The free kick just inside the Sunderland half.
The stadium, I like the fans still singing away.
Sunderland's fans doing their best to get behind the team, who trail to that Pirot goal. Here's Clark on the left-hand side, dribbling at the corner of the penalty area onto his right foot across the back of the box. Plays it back in the centre to Dan Ballard. Ballard now to Gooch. Gooch on the right, wide is Ahmad. Ahmad trying to come in on that far side, dribbling in, dribbling still Ahmad, but he's lost it.
Do you think we've not played well enough, lads?
A block by Manning, he's lost it himself. It's put back in again, and it's saved from going out for a corner by Bender down at the near post. And it's rolled out to Cabango on this right-hand side by Stephen Bender. And Bender just leans and watches as Allen to Darling to Grimes, and they gradually
basically
push
the Sunderland fans can sort of go easy on Sunderland really for the defeat, because you can't turn around and say they played absolutely awful.
Through the middle, Cooper beaten to it by Ballard, but there in the centre is Allen.
I think
now Grimes.
Sorry, Nick. I think they'll bring Stewart off. He's put a shift in, hasn't he?
Well, he has.
Yeah.
It's
just gives us another outlook. Maybe bring on Barr or Bennett, just to freshen things up. We've got nothing to lose. Trying to get back into the game now. That's what it's all about.
63 minutes played. 1-0 to Swansea. Grimes to Allen to Grimes.
I think Swansea's got a good record against Sunderland at the stadium.
Back inside to Matt Grimes again.
I think Swansea's got a good record at the stadium.
To square to Allen, and Allen out wide on that left-hand side to Manning. Manning back again to Allen. Across here to Fulton. Back to Grimes in the middle of the Sunderland half. Looking for at the edge of the penalty area. Cullen, he plays it down on the left to Manning. First time ball in, looking for Cooper. Cut out to Ahmad. Playing it up towards Stewart. Took it on his chest, on the shoulder of Darling. Lays it off behind him now. And Evans plays it through to Clark on this left hand side. Dan Neil on this left hand side. Through to Stewart. And Stewart just, well, he's doing well to control this actually. And he's got it back to Dan Neil. Neil out to Clark on the left hand side. And Clark now taking on Latibaudiere, the edge of the area, still trying to get into the box. His ball across the face of the 6-yard box.
Get in!
Well done.
Oh, it's offside. It's offside. It's offside.
Has equalised. Great
goal. Watch your screen, Ant. Watch your screen. Watch your screen.
In the 65th minute.
Take that, you twats.
Great work, and that was all started by Dan Neil and Ross Stewart.
Get in.
Well, good ball in by Jack Clark, but what an intelligent header that was by Ross Stewart. Excellent header. Good finish.
And
get in.
And listen for the roar as Dan Neil's name is spoken over the tannoy. And Sunderland back on level terms with 10 men. Great break. Good work done. And that's given everybody a lift. So about to restart.
Good finish that. Like he took,
Swansea get us underway again. Sunderland 1, Swansea City 1. Grimes again involved to Allen.
Stadium Light's gone absolutely crazy with that goal. Like they've absolutely erupted with that.
Fulton on this
well done, Jack Clark. Just gets a yard ahead, gets in a good cross.
Manage the game.
Get in.
Back to Cabango. Forwards again on the right to Grimes. Fulton back to Grimes. Back to Darling in the centre circle. Swansea all in white. And Darling leaves it now for Allen. Squares it to Fulton. Fulton out wide to Latibaudiere. He plays it back inside to Matt Grimes. Grimes in the middle. Dan Neil just in front of him. He plays it to Fulton to his right. Back to Grimes in the centre. Neil stands in front, but he's got it through to Cooper. Cooper looking for Manning now. Closed down by Gooch. Great block. And a throw to Swansea on the far side. Sunderland 1, Swansea City 1. We're almost halfway through the second half. Shove on Allen by Gooch, but no foul. Out to Latibaudiere on the right, into the penalty area rolls the ball, but Hume marshals it out behind for a goal kick to Sunderland.
And that's what Ross Stewart brings to the table, doesn't he? You know, Clark's put that in, and because we've got an out-and-out striker, you know, he's able to... Fantastic header's a pass into Neil. He finishes it.
Lovely finish, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that could easily have been put over the bar.
Don't forget to click that thumbs up, please, and any subscribers, anybody new to the channel, if you can hit the sub button.
Just a nod down. And puts Sunderland back in the game. Dan Neil's second goal of the season.
Come on.
It's Luton 2, West Bromwich Albion 2. Throw to Sunderland on the left-hand side here. It's funny enough, you were just talking about should Stewart be taken off, and it was instrumental then in the equaliser.
Yeah.
But, as you say, shows what he brings to the game. Here's Cullen for Swansea, trying to get forwards down the right-hand side, back into the centre circle to Darling. Wide on that left-hand side to Manning, back into Darling in the middle of the Sunderland half with Grimes, back to Darling and then to Cabango. Cabango forwards to Fulton. Fulton back to Cabango. He's again still in the centre circle, forwards again down the right to Fulton, inside to Grimes in the middle. And Grimes just halting in front of Evans. Through Darling now down to Manning. Being forced out by Lyndon Gooch. Nearly got the ball back, but Grimes has got it now from Darling and tries to play it into Pirot. Takes it on his chest, it's hooked away by Jack Clark. Over his head, an overhead clearance. And now Ahmad has it back behind into Gooch. Looking for Stewart. I think, well, Stewart thought it was pulled down by Cabango, and he's furious with the referee. He gets nothing from him. And the ball is with Fulton. Luton 2, West Bromwich Albion 3. Grimes through to Cooper, looking for Manning on the far side. First time ball in, looking for Pirot. They pulled the goal back. They're back in front.
A ricochet.
Ball came back out on a ricochet to Cullen, and from just a couple of yards,
well,
he's
they
just
have got a man advantage, haven't they?
Something out of nothing, because there wasn't a particular threat there.
He didn't know nothing about it.
No, it was a ricochet back into Cullen's path. And Swansea are back in front.
See, they're complaining, Ross Stewart's complaining to the referee. It was a
foul. We're always going to be up against it, aren't we? Yeah. Against 10 men. We've got 10 men.
Liam Cullen literally just ran onto that as it ricocheted out, and it just fell off him came off him into the bottom corner. How's your luck? I mean, they tracked the run, the ball played in by Manning. It looked as though Sunderland had dealt with it, but Cullen was in the way. So from a couple of yards out in the 70th minute, Swansea are back in front. That's rotten luck for Sunderland. They just need to lift themselves again now. Sunderland 1, Swansea City 2.
Yeah, that was going to happen though
Cullen
against
with his fourth championship goal of the season.
Gooch not marking the winner, unlucky though.
Has restored Swansea's lead. Back it comes to Patterson. Pirro goes to close him down, and they felt they'd dealt with the danger that Pirro was posing in that 6-yard box. It was Cullen who scored. Now here's Dan Neil. Out to Ahmad. Ahmad trying to get forwards again, but it's blocked. He's come back up here almost on halfway to Evans, who leaves it for Ballard, and across here now on the left to Trey Hume.
I just think it's going to be one of them days where it's just not your day.
Now looking for Stewart at the edge of the area. He's just crept into the box, but comes back out again now.
And it's just not meant to
looking
be
for it was
today.
Clark. Swansea get it away again. Nodded down by Bart. Ballard's in the middle here. Plays it across to Ahmad on the right-hand side. Ahmad in the box for Gooch. Pulls it back and trying to turn it in. And winning a corner is Ross Stewart.
Unlucky.
Sunderland's first corner of the game comes here at the north end on the left-hand side. Nobody's going to get the ball. Ahmad's finally chased down to the ball boy, who picks it up in front of Ahmad and rolls it back to Jack Clark on this left-hand side. Can Sunderland get back in the game again? Luke O'Nien sent off in the 18th minute. 0-0 at half-time, but we've had 3 goals in this second half. Clark's low ball in. Comes out to the back of the area. Evans trying to put it back in. It's blocked. It'll drop for Ahmad on the right. Offside.
Oh, he's offside. It's come off.
I think we can say goodbye to this game. It's just never
Ahmad
been for us.
stares at the assistant.
It just hasn't. It's just one of them days, isn't it?
A free kick to Swansea.
It's not going to happen.
Further frustration for Sunderland. Reading 2,
even if we do get an equaliser 2-2, we're not gonna stop them from scoring again. We're man disadvantage.
Bristol City 4, Birmingham.
It's not going to happen.
Foul on Latibaudiere. Clark. A word or words with the referee. Preston 0, Norwich 4. Allen. Back
Keep
to
50
Darling.
says Jennifer.
Inside the Swansea half, just behind the centre circle. Across now to Cabango. Cabango on the right of the centre circle. He's looking for the run here of Cullen. Over his shoulder, out comes Patterson. Catches it right at the edge of the penalty area on the right-hand side. Swansea are going to make a change.
I've got to say, the lad Manning, who plays left back, every time he goes out to him, got great quality going into the box.
Uncham's going to come on for Swansea. And
he's played on.
It looked like Ahmad was fouled, but play has gone on. It's cut out by Bart, but only as far as Cooper here in the penalty area. He squares it, a little touch from Pirro, but Fulton couldn't control it. And Sunderland get the ball away through Hume out to Clark. Olivier Uncham, the Cameroon international, is going to come on for Swansea. Cooper's still down in the Sunderland penalty area as Ahmad gets up the other end. He lays it off to Gooch. Now Cooper's up on his feet. The cross is taken by the goalkeeper.
Oh, he's gone down.
And now he's gone down again. Fury for the Sunderland fans.
Across the season we have been way ahead of
He's just run from the 18-yard box.
He's got up to almost the centre circle and gone down again.
He's gone down again. Come on.
Success.
He's going to receive some treatment now. Swansea having got themselves in front again, just over a quarter of an hour to play. Sunderland playing with 10 men, if you're just joining us after Luke O'Nien's dismissal in the 18th minute. Cooper receiving his treatment.
Oh, dear me.
Referee Keith Stroud checking his watch, just strolling about in the centre circle. All the players have come across to the touchline, or are coming across to the touchline. A few stragglers.
Thanks for the 2 subscribers there, Jeff
Tony
and
Mowbray's
Karen. Thank you.
Called Bart to him, and he's had a long conversation with Trey Hume, I think. Mark Venus is in conversation with Ross Stewart. Cooper's back on his feet. There's going to be the change here. Then it's going to be Fulton who's coming off for Uncham. It's former Manchester City midfielder and Celtic. 4 years at Celtic, signed for Swansea in 2021. Olivier Uncham, 5 goals he's got this season, so another midfield threat for Russell Martin's side.
Chill.
Still waiting to resume, no hurry to come off. Jay Fulton finally now Fulton
Jacob's the one who knows that, I'm afraid, but for some reason he doesn't want to say it.
But it's Joe Allen that's come off. Anyway, it's Allen that's come off. Fulton's still on, despite the 4 being held up. And Uncham is on, so it's a like-for-like swap. Grimes trying to get the ball forwards. Uncham's out there on that left-hand side.
Do you know, I just had a funny feeling when I seen we were playing Swansea coming up. I hate they're a horrible team to play.
Edge of the box, again, he's lost it.
It's never pretty when we play these.
Bringing this out.
Very rarely it's a good outcome either.
From Grimes back to Manning, forwards again to Olivier Uncham, who's taking this on up to the halfway line, wide on that left-hand side. And now in front of him is Evans, but he plays it into the middle.
We've got a terrible record.
Circle to Fulton, who leaves it for Grimes.
Sean Robson,
away
it's
from
all against Sunderland, but being
Darling
beat at home again
him.
is sad and it ain't good enough.
Watford lead Blackpool 1-0. The ball's come back to Stephen Bender here. Cleared from the edge of the penalty area by the keeper. Looking for the run of Latibaudiere, and he's got through here after a slip by Hume. He's in the penalty area. Leaves it for Pirro, who's trying to tee it up, but it's blocked by Ballard. Comes down to Cooper. Cooper's drive in the corner.
He scored.
Ollie Cooper makes it 3-1. Top right corner, squeezed in between Patterson and the post. And in the 78th minute, you possibly have to say that's curtains for Sunderland's hopes.
Yeah, game over.
Curtains, tie-dye more like it.
Trey Hume didn't control the ball properly there as it's come over the top.
Game gone, hasn't it?
Pirlo should have played in on the outside. He's taken a shot. He's come back to Cooper. Yeah, got to say he's hit that with some power.
He did, and he found the corner, top right corner.
Ryan Laws, the press manager, says Yorkshire Mackham, whoever that is.
It got through there. And Swansea lead now 3-1. Then they've got 12 minutes left. Sunderland, of course, playing with 10 men as well. And now up against it, very much.
Yeah, they are
against it.
You know, as I say, we can go back to the referee, we can go back to the sending off, we can go back to, you know, points in the game.
It's just one of those days. It's just not going to happen.
Again, Luke O'Nien.
Luke O'Nien's the villain. Chalk the game off, that's it.
I think the general consensus is yes, I think. And to a certain extent, you'd say it's a game changer. Lots of people leaving now, feeling it's all over. Gooch on the right, inside. Ahmad's beaten to it on halfway. It's put forward again by Evans, and it's out for a throw to Sunderland. Halfway inside the Swansea half. It's Sunderland 1, Swansea City 3. The brief hiatus when
last match I was at the Stadium of Light, it was Sunderland 1, Swansea 3, and it was the last game of the season.
Swansea
and it was the season when we did the miracle escape of Gus Poyet.
Here's Uncham in the middle of his own half, playing it back to Cabango. Cabango through to
Southampton just
again.
Took the lead against Everton with an absolute cracking free kick.
Out.
We're all over
on
the
the right is Latibaudiere. Uncham's carrying it on, still going. Uncham inside.
Southampton's just took the lead against Everton.
Then Uncham shoots just wide of the right post. And a little kick on Cooper, but no free kick. So 3 substitutes about to come on for Sunderland, about to make a triple change. Michoud, Barr and Bennett, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, they've got nothing to lose now.
Nothing to lose by throwing the 3 of them on. The final 10 minutes of the game. Since Everton 1, Southampton 2. As the instructions given to the substitutes is played through, an attempt to play it through to Ross Stewart by Neil, blocked by Swansea, who themselves are going to make a change. Matthew Soronolo, who's on loan from the Belgium team, Union SG, is about to come on. But Sunderland won it back here. Here is trying to get through the middle.
Yep, dear Maureen's, we ain't beat these
calling for it in the penalty area now from Clark on the left.
I didn't know the track record and the stats, but I just had a bad feeling when I seen the fixture coming up for Swansea. I just thought, I'm not liking this. I don't have a good feeling for Sunderland on the left-hand side. Right. Feel sorry for the home fans.
Uncham in front of him. Clark, though,
tie-dye curtains, says GF86.
On halfway. Ballard out to the left here to Hume, just in front of Tony Mowbray. Back again to
Brighton have got a
Danny
third
Barr,
against Liverpool.
Back again to Patterson. Bristol City 4, Birmingham 2. Here's Ahmad, wide on the right, trying to cut inside now. It's got help, it's gone past Gooch, it comes back to Stewart, who's wrestling with...
Yeah, cheers to everybody tuning into the channels and stuff. It's a shame it's a shit show,
but
but
awarded to Swansea, and it'll be 4 changes for Sunderland, because Dayaku's coming on as well. Brighton 3, Liverpool 0. Ahmad's coming off.
Yeah. I think Stewart will come off. Maybe Clark will come off. And the midfield player, maybe Corey Evans or Dan Neil.
Also coming off is Evans.
What's left?
Waiting for the ball to come up again, the final 2. And Bennett is on now, but he hasn't. Who's coming off for Bennett? Dayaku's
I'll tell you what, we're not safe from
well,
relegation either now. We're only 10 points ahead of Huddersfield.
But that's effectively Stewart is coming off for Dayaku. Who did Bennett come on for then?
I do agree.
Clark. Oh,
I don't think
Reading to Queen's Park.
I don't think you can complain where Sunderland are in the league. I think it's a true representative, and I think it's
Sunderland. Cullen's coming off for Soronolo.
You would have took this before the season started. Like it's just such a shame. It would have been interesting to see what would happen if it was 11 v 11. Do you know what I mean? It was like it was wet, damp squid when the minute he got sent off, wasn't it?
So that's all 5 changes made by Sunderland. No hurry to come off. Cullen, Sorinola to replace him. Bennett then out wide on this left-hand side. Dayaku, of course, in the middle. Barr to his right.
James, well, congratulations on your win.
Swansea
come on up the Swans. Yes, race lad. Well,
Darling across to Cabango.
Well done.
And Cabango drives this forward, looking for the run of Soronolo. But Hume gets his head to it.
Can you still use a long
Soronolo,
ball to
though,
shoot
drops
a
to his feet,
somewhere?
holding off Hume, who pushes over the Swansea substitute. Dan Neil is furious. 6
Cheers
minutes
for popping
left
in the chat anywhere,
Swansea fans.
Sunderland
1, Swansea City 3. Sunderland, of course, playing with 10 men. Nottingham Forest 2, Leicester 0. Ball back with Darling, out to the left to Manning, inside to Grimes, back again to Darling and Cabango. And he plays it across now to Latibaudiere. Uncham in front of him, in front of Tony Mowbray. Trying to get away from Bennett. Out to Sorinola on the touchline, back to Latibaudiere in his own half. Dayaku giving chase. Back it comes again to Cabango and across to Darling, forwards to Manning, back again to Cabango in front of the D, forwards to Uncham on this right-hand side. Over halfway, just turns, plays it inside to Fulton, back again to Cabango, squares it to Darling just behind the centre circle, to the Olays from the Swansea fans high up in the north stand. And back to Cabango, Fulton, Cabango, Darling. Across on the left-hand side, on the touchline, Manning back again to Darling, forwards to Grimes, back again to Harry Darling, and then
Not
one
you're welcome,
back
Reece. You're welcome
by
to come in any time
Sunderland.
you want.
Mishu's trying to get through the middle, but one
played well,
back
Swansea.
again
I'm not going to make an
by
excuse for the referee.
Darling.
They've played well.
Gets Uncham away here, and Uncham, Pirro is screaming for it, just at the edge of the area. He's going to just stretch for it, couldn't get on the end of it, and it's run away for a goal kick, and another change is going to be made. Luke Cundle, who's on loan.
It would have been interesting to see what 11 v 11 would have been.
20-year-old for Cooper.
Thanks to EJ going for my walk.
Cardiff 1, Wigan 0. Minutes left here at the Stadium of Light. The result is a foregone conclusion. It's just Sunderland have got to try not to concede another. Burnley 1, Coventry 0. Burnley marching on at the top of the table. Cundle comes on. Big hug for Ollie Cooper from Russell Martin. Passed out by Anthony Patterson to Ballard, and out wide to Gooch, inside then to Mishu, who leaves it for Gooch again wide. Cundle goes to close him down. Ahmad runs past him to Mishu. Foul on Ahmad though on the far side, and a free kick to Sunderland. Just inside their half on the right.
You know, you look back at the game, Nick, it's a difficult game to assess really, because you've got to say the referee's been poor.
It is hard, because I don't think Sunderland have played poorly, and they've been undone by, I think, well, one goal we feel that, you know, was possibly offside. Not sure. We need to see that again, and that'll be, you know, that's still a question mark over that. And even the players felt that at the time, as did a lot of fans around here. Now, a free kick for Sunderland, a yellow card for Sorinolo, who's been trying to stop Sunderland taking the free kick. And the free kick was taken. They tried to get it forwards, but the referee is not happy. Pulls it back.
West Bromwich Albion dark horses in the league, I reckon, says Demo.
His goal, it just ricocheted off him, didn't it? I mean, that was just unfortunate. A mistake by Trey Hume, admittedly, for their third, and you have to give Ollie Cooper some credit for his finish. As Hume swings in the free kick, but it'll be scooped up by Stephen Bender on the goal line with 3 minutes of the 90 minutes left. Stephen Bender bowls it out over on that far side to Ryan Manning. Back here to Harry Darling. Darling drives it out wide to Sorinola on the halfway line. It's headed out off him by Trey Hume. Bounces off Tony Mowbray. Bennett comes across to scoop up the ball. Nobody wants to take the throw. And finally, Sorinolo is given the ball by Bennett. Takes the throw. Back it goes to Latibaudiere. Plays it inside to Cabango. Diaku gives chase. Trying to get on the end of it. It's given away to Gooch by the defender under that pressure from Diaku. Barr trying to win it. Leaves it now for Mishu. But Swansea win it back. And then Daniel penalised for a foul on Cundle. Can't do anything right this afternoon, Sunderland.
Not with that referee, you can't. That's for sure.
Only a couple of minutes left, and the stadium rapidly emptying. Such a great shame in a way that the sending off of 09 has spoilt the game. As Diaku chases shadows here, it comes back to Cabango, across to Darling, wide to Manning. Barr goes to close him down, but the ball comes down to Ballard. Ballard gets it away.
I know Sunderland have.
turns it, gets
you're welcome, Jennifer.
Looking for Bennett on the left-hand wing here.
Yeah, we're missing Pritchard, aren't we?
Down the left, keeps it in. Does he? No, he doesn't.
Don't know.
Out for a throw to Swansea on the right, who lead 3-1 going into
I mean,
the
have
final
Sunderland
seconds
played
of the
actually
game.
that well, or ignore the sending off? Have we been through it today?
Latibaudiere, the fourth official, will show 6 minutes being added on. We're into those 6 minutes now, and it's with Manning behind him. Darling forwards again to Cundle. still inside the Swansea half, and now Grimes again. Grimes plays it out wide to Sorinola on the right wing, into the Sunderland half. A little flick by Uncham to Sorinola.
I don't think we've been very good.
Back again behind him to Latibaudiere, short pass to Grimes, then across the back of the centre circle to Harry Darling, Ben Cabango, wide on the right again to Uncham in front of his manager, and inside to Sorinola. Uncham.
I think Lampard's going to get the sack.
Latibaudiere gets it away from Dan Neil into the middle to Matt Grimes. Back to Cabango
there's
in
only
the middle
like,
of the
I've got the
Swansea
match on now. I'm not watching the Figan Sunderland game. There's 88 minutes gone and the
forwards to
2-1 down. I think that'll be his last game. Frank Lampard's like.
Gets away from Bennett, back to Darling, squares it to Cabango. 5 minutes left. Tony Mowbray's having a word with the fourth official, raising his fingers, his fist to the fourth official, Robert Madden. And here's Sorinola down the right wing, halfway inside the Sunderland half. Pirro wants it in the middle. It's rolled straight into the hands.
Doesn't help when you guys had a red card but still fighting for it. Yeah, no, like I've said all along.
Gets it out here.
Welsh, they're a good side.
Scorer of big club. Sunderland's only goal. Watford 2, Blackpool 0. Now foul, Sorinola.
Not too sure. Hasn't been a pretty performance by both teams, really. Like, but, you know, they took the chances. It could have easily been a draw. But
Trey Hume here
took the chance as well.
Even Hume's puzzled, looks at the assistant and asks, what's that for? I don't know what that's about. Free kick has gone to Sunderland. Hume is booked. Hume takes the free kick, floats it up through the middle, headed away by Cabango. 3 minutes left, and an offside against Sunderland. So another free kick to Swansea. Sorry, 4 minutes. 6 minutes added on.
And you know, unfortunately, you know the game itself. You know what it's all going to be about, don't you?
Possession.
The
referee. Oh, it will.
That's going to be the main talking point.
Yeah, it will be. It will be.
You know, it's all about the referee.
Yeah, that 18th.
Oh, Wolves have gone 2-0 up against West Ham. That's another manager under pressure, I think. Was David Moyes massively. Has to be.
It's Sheffield United 3, Stoke City 1. Uncham heads this one down, cleared by Bart. Nearly 3 minutes now of the minimum 6 played. Cabango swings it forwards, happy just to bang it up towards the edge of the Sunderland penalty area. Patterson gathers it, rolls it out now to Danny Bart, forwards to Michu, back to Patterson. Patterson drives us away out towards the right, looking for Gooch, but straight onto the chest of Manning. He's taking on Ballard. Ballard blocks him and has given away a free kick. I mean, Ballard knows what he did there. He's just run straight away from it, back to the edge of his penalty area. It's wide on the left, probably 30 yards out for Swansea City, who are just basically seeing the game out now. The Welshman. Leaving Cabango back up on the halfway line on the centre spot. Ryan Manning will take the free kick short to Cundle, back to Manning on that far side, back again behind him. It's run to Uncham. Uncham back to Grimes.
It happens.
Wide, left again to Manning.
These games happen. It happens in football.
Area.
I mean, it's
back
happened loads of times when I've
Manning,
supported
back again to Grimes, inside to
decided
Darling.
on a sending off.
Darling in the middle of the Sunderland half, out to Sorinola on this right-hand side. Just behind him, Latibaudiere, Uncham in the middle. Now back to Darling, to Grimes.
If they get heavily
Grimes
beat against
Manning,
Middlesbrough next week, Huddersfield win again, then we'll be only 7 points clear of the drop.
Fulton, Darling behind him, puts his foot on the ball.
It's obvious that the ref is getting backhand there. He's a Newcastle fan,
whipped off him by Michu.
Be surprised.
And then Michu's tripped up by Luke Cundle. It's a free kick to Sunderland. Michu has to push Cundle off the ball. It's played across here now to Trey Hume on the left-hand side on the halfway line. And out to Bennett. And Bennett bringing this along the halfway line, back into the centre, rolling it behind him to Danny Bart, then to Ballard. We've got a minute left. The ball headed away as it's swept forwards by Darling, out to Manning, who puts it out for a throw to Sunderland. And
Everton's lost again. But the thing is, though, you cannot really judge Sunderland's performance today because they've been like a man down. It's sort of like you cannot really sort of be too critical on them, can you?
The effervescent Luke O'Nien, Michu on halfway. Back it goes to Ballard. Ballard forwards again towards Barr, digs it out for Michu. Then Gooch looking to get Michu away down that right touchline. The Frenchman chases after it. Darling goes with him and lets it run out behind for a goal kick. And there are only 20 seconds left of the 6 minutes being added on.
Well, cheers everybody. I'm going to end the stream at my end. There's no point carrying it on now with
these final seconds being drawn out by referee Keith Stroud, who looks at his watch. Stephen Bender jogs across his 6-yard line, and there indeed will be the referee to blow to get things moving on here as he looks at his watches again. And I think when he kicks this ball, he'll probably blow Keith Stroud for full time. Indeed, he does. Sunderland slipped to a 3-1 defeat, having seen Luke O'Nien sent off in the 18th minute. And as you said, all the talk will be of referee Keith Stroud.
Yeah, you know, we should be talking about football. We should be talking about the two teams.
But you're welcome, guys.
Everything will be about the referee and how we actually, shall we say, handled the game. Yes, okay, went down to 10 men. Was it a red card or not? I don't think so. If anything, yellow, yes, definitely. And that's just spoiled the gaming. You know, it got off to a good start. Two good teams. You know, credit to Swansea, good passing team. Good, you know, they played the ball well. But overall, it was just the refereeing and decision making was poor.
1-1 at the Cardiff City game.
Was it or wasn't it offside, their opening goal? We don't know. I mean, we haven't seen replays of it. I think the players felt it was. Our instant reaction was that Pirro was offside, but the officials didn't. Certainly, the assistant didn't wave a flag. The referee didn't
what do you think
see anything wrong with the goal. Credit to Sunderland, got back into the game with Dan Neal's equaliser.
I mean,
but then again, a little bit of ill luck. Cullen, the ricochet that gave Swansea the lead again, and then they managed the game.
Yeah, definitely so. And you just think, you know, look at, sometimes you have games like that where no matter what you do, you're just not going to get the rub of the green. And I think he summed it up with that second goal. You know, no matter what, he could have been out there till 12 o'clock tonight. I don't think we would have won.
We don't know yet whether Sunderland will appeal Luke O'Nien's sending off, but it, I think, will be 3 games if they don't, because it's violent conduct. So it's a big question mark. Someone did say at the weekend, it's at half-time, would they appeal it? Probably not, because they'd be worried about the